So I'm George Shepard, Chair of the Conservation Commission, and I call this meeting of the Conservation Commission to order. Members present remotely are, let's see here, Brian Murphy, Melissa Webster, Dan Wells, Sylvia Willard, and myself. Remotely connected are a Conservation Administrator, Ms. Megan, and the Planning and Land Use Coordinator, Noel.
We also have our new staff person. Well, she's not new to the town, but new into conservation, Sarah Wasserman.
Sarah, yes, I thought she was going to present something later on. So she's actually a town employee? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yes, she's sustainability and land use coordinator.
Got it. All right, going back to my script here. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by telephone or Zoom web conference as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants may be able to hear you, and anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All participants should keep their phones or microphones muted unless recognized by me. I will call on each speaker to address the commission. If you wish to address the commission, please click the raised hand icon or ask to speak by posting a request in the chat feature. Please identify yourself at the start of your remarks. All right. So turning to the agenda, and it is a minute and a half before item number 1. So I will be very patient.
Do you want me to do the bills real quick in the meantime?
Do the what? The bill?
Do you want me to run through the bills real quick in the meantime?
Oh, yes. Sure.
Okay,
I
I
think
can
they're
just go
fast.
through
Go ahead.
them. So the first is O'Connor Ace Hardware for $100.66. This is for parts to bring the wells at Foss Farm Community Gardens online this spring, and that can be paid from that account. Another charge for O'Connor Ace Hardware for $95.37. Similarly, this is for garden keys and well repairs and can be paid out of the Foss Farm Community Garden Funds as well. And then Concord Lumber for $56.04. This is for new plot markers, which can also be paid out of the Foss Farm Community Garden Funds. And then the last expense is from Beaver Solutions for $1,044, and this is for annual maintenance of the existing Greeno flow devices and culvert fence, and this can be paid from the LSC repair and maintenance budget.
Great. Well, good timing. You bring us right to when we can start item number 1 out of
I move,
19.
George, I move we approve the bills.
Oh, thank you.
A second.
Can you get a second? Very good. So we'll start with Dan.
Aye.
Melissa. She's
Aye.
still here.
Sorry.
Brian.
Aye.
Let's see. Did Nick appear? See, Sylvia.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion passes. The bills will be paid. All right.
George, we do have the community input, I thought was on there, number 1.
There is 701, but I must admit, I don't know what that is.
It's
Do I just look for comments from the community if they would like to have a discussion?
So. Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
it's just like a open kind of forum at the beginning of the meeting to allow any members from the public to
Speak up.
just
Okay.
give their input.
All right. So we'll open up to the community. Does anybody like to have a discussion?
I have a question from the Trails Committee, if that can be entertained.
It certainly can. Go ahead.
So we had our meeting last night and we're trying to understand if we should be doing anything to keep the Otter Slide Trail open while the fate of the beavers is being decided. we thought the muddy section, that's kind of a reroute around the flooded section, we could probably put in some duck boards or something there to keep it from getting really horribly muddy. But we wanted to talk to you guys first before we do anything out there.
So is there a specific proposal that you'd like to discuss here and make a recommendation to the commission?
Well, I guess one question is, we don't want to spend a lot of time doing something out there if the water level is going to go higher. So we'd kind of like to have some input on, or some indication from you guys about what you're thinking about the beaver dam that's out there.
So, I'll just, if you don't mind, George.
Please do.
Okay. Yeah, so we had the site visit out there last Tuesday, and I'm just waiting on a recommendation and proposal from Beaver Solutions, which I expect to come in this coming week. And then once I have their recommendation and some cost estimates and different options, I'm planning on putting that on the commission's April 23rd agenda, and then we can all discuss what method will be best suited for that site, given the different stakeholders, trails, conscom, neighbors, all that. So, still waiting on recommendations from them. So I guess the timeline for a decision on that, Steve, would probably be at the 23rd meeting. But maybe there's some interim solutions that Trails could take if the commission was open to that.
So Steve, are there things that you'd like to propose to happen before the 23rd?
Where'd he go?
He just disappeared. I'm sure he'll be back.
I guess he had his say. All right, well, we'll open it up again. Eric, you have your hand up. Eric Miles?
Yeah, lost my unmute button. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just a very quick note to Megan that I had sent some material, and I'm not sure if you had access to your email. But if you did, I just want to let you know there was something there on a mower update.
Okay, awesome. I have access, so I can see it right now. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, I'll try and hang on if I can, when it comes up. Thank you.
What is the schedule for that? Sounds like it's closer to 8 o'clock, unfortunately.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, 8 o'clock. Okay. All right. Any more community inputs?
I had a question I wanted to ask Steve, but he disappeared. So, and I know it's been done in the past in places like that, so thought it might be helpful, but maybe he'll come back.
Well, do you want to voice it here and then we can, if he
Oh.
comes back, raise it again?
Okay, I think this, I know where this place is. I think he's talking about. If you go down the Otter Slide Trail from Curve Street, about 2/10 of a mile or so down, there's a puddle in the trail that you really don't want to walk through. But there's a workaround to the right that moves all the way around. Is wet, but you can stay reasonably dry. I went down there the day or two before your site visit down there and actually put a little tag on a vine, on a piece of material, vegetation there. In the past, in places like that, the Trails Committee has gotten permission from the Conservation Commission to put down what they call duck boards, which are 2 parallel planks. They have they're screwed or nailed together underneath in 3 places. And there's several of them they can put around. You've probably seen them on trails here in Carlisle. In a place like that, they could be considered temporary if, the flooding that's taking place there now is alleviated by Beaver Solutions. But it's a workaround, and is probably better than lots of people tromping through the wetland area, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So that's the kind of thing that's happened in the past. And they got permission from the commission to do that. Sorry, my voice isn't doing very well.
So do you think Steve is aware of this puddle and the
Oh, here
issues that
comes
this
Steve
has?
now.
Oh,
I
good.
think.
I'm sorry, my battery ran out of my computer. I had to go grab something.
Sylvia had a comment for you, Steve.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I know the spot you're talking about because I went down a few days before that site visit. And then everyone will thank me for not going the day of the site visit because I was coming down with this thing. It's about 2/10 or so of a mile down the Otter Slide Trail. There's a large puddle in the trail, and you can move around to the right, make a circuit, and come out on the other side of the puddle. But it's a little mushy, and I was suggested in the past the commission's provided the Trails Committee with permission to put your duck boards in places like that. They can be temporary until maybe the Beaver Solutions folks can alleviate the problem, because they've never been necessary before, but we've never had as much beaver activity now as we do now. But I was just bringing them up to date on that.
How long would the duck boards have to be? How big is this puddle?
So
Well, it doesn't go through it. It goes around the puddle, and it was probably maybe.
I was out there this morning. We'd need probably 4 8-foot duck boards to get around the mud.
I would agree. Did you see a little sort of survey flag hanging from something out there, from a piece of vegetation or bush or something? Because I did put one there when I was out there.
Okay. The other thing I noticed this morning is there's a sinkhole that's opened up between the dam and Curve Street. Apparently the beavers have undercut the trail, the bank
Wonderful.
of the river. So we'd have to figure out how to deal with that as well.
Okay.
Steve, is the puddle? I was there on the site visit, so I know the exact spot you're talking about.
Yep.
Is that puddle merely flooding, or isn't it also kind of a low spot where the trail's been degraded a little?
It's a low spot, and that's where the water goes when it gets higher. Yep.
Right. Can we fix the low spot? Fill it?
So what do you think about filling next to a riverfront? Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just wondering if there's a way to do it when something degrades.
It's
Well-
been low like that for years, and the problem is the water's gotten really high.
All right.
because
If
of
you
the
guys are fine with us bringing some gravel to raise it up, we'd be happy to do that. But
Yeah.
I think we need a
I
wetland
know it's
permit.
a weird thing to ask, but
Yeah.
it's sort of, a little bit of I noticed the trail had been basically degraded there.
Yeah.
I think if we wanted to do repairs to the trail, it'd have to be like a separate conversation than now, like a separate decision if it's in a sensitive area. But I think if it's been practiced in the past to allow the Trails Committee to put down the duck boards when a trail is flooded, then I don't see a particular problem with it.
What about putting duck boards over the low spot rather than going through the woods?
The water's a lot higher in the low spot than it is in the woods, and I'd be afraid of the duck boards floating away if the water
Okay.
was
Right.
much higher.
right.
All right.
They've had the whole boardwalks float away in the past in other places.
Sounds like duck boards are our
Yeah, I think that'd be a good temporary solution.
Temporary, right?
I can move, George, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Move that we authorize the Trails Committee to put temporary duck boards on the locations that we've been discussing.
second.
Second that.
And that'd be Dan and Melissa. Thank you very much. Here's hoping the weather will cooperate. So can I take a roll call vote? Sylvia,
Hi.
Dan,
I
is Brian really here?
I think so.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
I'll give you an eye.
All right. See, did I hit Melissa?
No, not yet. Aye, and
Uh,
thank you,
and
Steve, for
George
doing that.
Shepherd votes aye. The motion is passed.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right. Do we continue with the community input? Is there more that's available? Hearing none, I'd like to move on to item 1, public hearing notice of intent, DEP file 125-1208. This is for 812 Maple Street in Greeno Conservation Land. So it's removal of invasive Japanese knotweed through a coordination of livestock grazing, herbicide treatment, and ecological restoration within the bordering land subject to flooding. The riverfront area, bordering vegetative wetlands, and a 100-foot buffer zone. This was continued from our January 8th meeting, February 26th meeting, and March 26th meeting. A very popular topic. Megan, you have a lot of comments on this. Do you want to jump in
Yeah.
here?
Sure, I was just gonna quickly summarize some of the past conversations that we had on this, and then I'm gonna pass it to Noelle and Sarah to present the restoration plan that we've drafted. So at the January 8th meeting where the commission discussed this, there was some comments and questions. So we've revised the notice of intent to incorporate these. So one of the comments was about having confirmation from CCF to treat the knotweed that is spread onto their property. We got that at one of those meetings from a CCF member. And then another comment was specifying the type of herbicide, which is glyphosate based. Another was about erosion sediment controls needed after grazing. We don't intend for there to be soil that's disturbed on site from this project because it is a small scale effort. So we haven't included any of that on the site plan or anything, but if we find out that it's needed and erosion is a possibility, then we can work with the DPW to stabilize the area with their materials. There was another question about filter fabric, whether or not we would remove that from the ground once it's buried or keep it in the ground. And we actually decided to remove that from the scope of work completely and just stick with livestock grazing and herbicide treatment instead. And then there's another comment about coordination with CCF and CONSCOM members to monitor the Britain's violet before grazing and herbicide treatment. And we have added that to our monitoring protocol. And then there was a few comments from Mass DEP that we also answered relating to treatment of other invasive species in the area, how we would monitor the BVW versus the buffer zone, and some long-term monitoring techniques. So all that's included in the revised notice of intent. It was in the meeting packet, and then Noelle, Sarah, and I have drafted a native planting plan. And the original hope was to work with LSC to draft this plan, but because of the current circumstances, we weren't really able to do that. We did solicit recommendations from some of the remaining LSC members, but we didn't get that much input, so we've kind of just crafted this ourselves. So with that, I'll leave it to Noelle and Sarah to present the restoration plan.
Thank you. Noelle, Sarah, who's going to lead?
Sarah, do you have the list up?
Yeah, I just got it up, so I should be able to do that.
Okay. You should be able
Okay.
to screen share.
Okay, how does that look on everybody's end? Is this the most updated version? I think Noelle, you may have sent a more updated version actually. Hold on.
Yeah, that's not it.
My bad.
It's in the folder. I'm just not connected to the net extender right now, so it would take me a second to get to it.
I think I've got it here. Okay. One moment. I will reshare my screen.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Well, just to give a little bit of an introduction while thing is getting up. So Sarah and I went and looked at some old restoration plans that have been submitted. And we also cross-referenced the native plants list that the Conservation Commission has on the website. And um, I also went and looked at, Megan reviewed the list and gave us some of her um, more expertise on like identifying plants that already are in, that are already at Greeno. And so she was able to identify some of them, and then we looked at local nurseries. Um, so I'll let Sarah take
Sure.
over.
Yeah. So we split the restoration plan into the three different areas that are identified on the site plan. So area one is the largest area. It includes part of where the barn used to be. So it has land that is in the 100-foot buffer zone and land that is outside the 100-foot buffer zone. So we focused on facultative wetland and facultative species. And so this is our list. The quantities are definitely something that can be adjusted as, the project evolves. But this is like, as Megan and Noel said, based on species that were observed on site, and species that are known to thrive in the conditions that are in this area. So I will continue to area 2. Which is entirely within the 100-foot buffer zone, and we observed many woody plants there. So I can zoom out just a little bit so we can see the full chart. Oops, chart. There we go. So this is the full chart for area 2. There's some, crossover of species and then some other species that maybe weren't the best fit for area 1, but we thought would work in area 2. And then finally, Area 3 is pretty similar. It's directly adjacent to a wetland and has the potential to become saturated. So for context, Area 1 is the area near where the barn was. Area 2 is kind of across, just a couple feet away from it, across where like the trail is, and then area 3 is closer to the fence. It's where the fenced area is, where the cottage used to be.
Mhm.
So just for context, yeah, so these are some of the species we've been looking at. This area has a lot of ferns. So I think we'd like to see some ferns being included here. And that's what we have for the restoration plan. We're happy to take questions or comments or go to different parts if anyone wants to look at them again. I think that about covers what we have here.
Could you
Well,
scroll
thank you
back
for the
up?
presentation. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
So the native meadow mix, you might have,
Mhm.
we've had times when the native meadow mix wasn't really native. It was native to somewhere, but not to us. So I think we need some details on what that would be. But Sylvia could tell you, for example, on South Street, they planted a native conservation mix that was native to, somewhere else.
hmm I also will just say that so this list right now is based on what it was Bigelow Nursery. It was based on what they have for inventory, and they do have a very wide variety and plants that are local, native non-cultivar, but they do change. So this can kind of evolve over time. I'm sure that it's going to take a little bit for the project for us to actually do plantings. So where I'm sure it will stay relative, like where all the plants will still be like facultative and to that degree, but the species may vary a little bit. Just like a caveat. But obviously we will make them native. We'll make sure they're all native.
So do we still need input from LSC for recommendations, Megan?
Um, I mean, when the project, when we were first trying to make the restoration plan, like that was the ideal situation. Um, just because obviously staff can research and look up things, but I think to a degree it's important to have like the institutional knowledge and recommendations of people in town that know the landscape probably better than Noel, Sarah, and I do. We didn't obviously have that opportunity, but we did do some research here, so I don't know if it's needed. As Noel mentioned, this restoration plan won't happen until we finish the treatment phases on site. So it's actually probably going to be, a couple years away until we get to the restorative phase. So when that time does come, if people do have changes they want to make to the species, I think we could probably amend the restoration portion of this, as long as we know that no matter what, we're going to have a restoration plan of this area that will have woody native species. Then I think it's okay to change it a little later if people decide that they want some different species in there.
So is the point right now for us to agree to this solution with the caveat that it may change after the other mitigation efforts have been accomplished?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people submit notice of intents often, and oftentimes the way you plan things, once you get around to completing the work, sometimes things change. So it's pretty normal for these things to change over time as long as they're not major changes. I think the basis of the project is that we're trying to improve the area, right? Like we're trying to improve the wetland resource area at Greeno because it's currently rampant with invasives. So that's one component. But in order to really improve the site, the second component is we'll be restoring it with native species. And so as long as we do both of those things, I think the details kind of come second.
So what's the relative schedule? Are we going to get rid of the invasives first and then a year or two down the road when we're ready after everything, and then we can do the remediation? Or it's sounds like that's the plan whenever we finished getting rid of the bad species.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think the herbicide treatment takes a few years because knotweed is so persistent. And so, you wouldn't want to plant your high bush blueberry and then go out there and spray herbicide all around it. So
Makes
the
sense.
restorative part really happens after you've managed the site accordingly.
All right.
So I will quick comment and a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, first thing is I applaud the thinking that around coupling invasive removal with remediation as one multi-phase project. So totally agree with that. And I like the list of species. Although who knows, we may have some modification at some point, but we have the flexibility to do that. One question is, how did you come up with the quantities?
So Sarah and I looked at some old plans that had been submitted by what's the term I should use? It's not like I don't want to say a gardener. What is
Or
the
Landscape
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 architect?
architect.
Yes, I'm like there is a professional by landscape architects, and we looked at the quantity, like the size that they submitted for that they were restoring, and compared that to the size area that we were restoring. So that's how we got it. This was the first time, honestly, that Sarah and I have done something like this. So I'm not saying where it's perfect or anything like that. It could change, but we based it off plans that the Conservation Commission had approved of for restoration in the past, and tried to implement those practices.
Well, Noel, Sarah, that's a great starting point, and that's all we're looking for at the moment. So I think that's great. Anything else, Melissa?
No, no, I think the issue, the reason I asked is really just thinking about you know, the more you plant in the beginning, the less, you know, the other things have a chance to grow. On the other hand, the more the costs go up, and so maybe you need some way to prevent invasives from taking root while your new seed, you know, new plantings begin to grow. But anyway, I think you've followed a great practice in coming up with your plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a
And
comment?
oh, sure.
Go ahead.
First of all,
Sylvia.
I agree with Melissa. I like your plant choice. I like I like what you're coming up with so far. I would like an opportunity to take a little more thorough look at it, if you don't mind. And what I'd really like is to look at the plan that you put together for the knotweed removal and show roughly which of these plants are going to be going in there and the kind of spacing that they're going to have. Even more, I would love an estimate of the cost, because this number of plants can get really high in cost. And I think it would be a good idea first to find out what kind of money we're talking about here and whether there's some way, if it's kind of high, to reduce it. The using non-cultivar native plants is really important. And the area is rather remote out there. And so we've got to make sure that we are paying attention to what's going on out there. We don't. And how are you going to keep them maintained and watered, et cetera, if we get into a drought situation, which of course we still are. So I'd like a little more about maintenance, I guess, while they're taking root. I mean, some of that can come up with later, but I would love to take a better look at the plan and roughly where it is that you're planning to put these. And have you actually gone out and taken a look at the wetlands and confirmed the wetland delineation? Because I know that was something you were waiting for the snow to leave to do, but I haven't heard that you've gone out yet.
We went out to the site, but not to confirm the delineation yet.
Okay, I would love to have gone to do that. So recover.
Do you have the plan handy? I have it if you want me to put it up, but it might be helpful to what Sylvia was asking.
Please do.
And while you do that, Sylvia, talking about costs, good point. I wonder if there's an eco grant opportunity for this project. Anyway, just a thought.
Yes, I think it is a good idea for us to look into grants, because obviously this is kind of a big area, so it can get expensive. And we want to do it the right way. We don't want to.
Yeah, right.
Right, and it really clearly fits in the community, like the eco restoration category.
I mean, even a small area filled with nice plants can get kind of pricey. So,
So this is area 1, this outlined area here. I believe, is this where the barn was, somewhere in here?
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, I would say it was about there.
Okay, area 2, much smaller, and then area 3. So the path, is this the dam this direction?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so, and this is the wetland BBW line, these darker lines. So this one is right up against it. This line is the floodplain, this one here.
yeah, yeah.
So
The other thing is that there's a group in Billerica that likes to drive down here in January and park a few cars to go on a walk. And they haven't done that for the last couple of years because of the deconstruction of the barn. And I don't know if the commission is still interested in having them do that or not. But if so, it might be wise to keep any shrubs away from where it is one might allow parking, and just have it a grassy meadow type mix in that area. It might be good to look at, a sort of a plan on how the property there in that area is going to be used.
So Sylvia, would the parking be in the Billerica land
No,
or the
it
Carlisle?
goes through Billerica
I know.
on the town on CCF land and goes down into Carlisle, and they usually have a few cars that park down sort of, well, it was sort of in front of,
Okay, I understand.
by the barn, but not exactly in front. I don't know. I was never there when they did it, but
So that's not really in any of these areas. That doesn't look like this. If
Yeah.
this is the driveway, it would be.
yeah, I just don't know where they parked. So
So we were intending to keep where the barn was, sort of a grassland, maybe putting some meadow mix in there.
okay,
But yeah,
that
we
sounds
weren't
good.
we were not planning on putting any like shrubs or trees in that
Yeah,
area.
That's good.
To keep it a field. And more just filling in like those places where the knotweed is taken over, which there are like Megan was able to identify some trees and shrubs while we were out there. That's not my expertise.
So-
So
So
yeah, I was just gonna say we are happy to keep collaborating with people on the commission or LSC members once they get appointed to keep this project sort of ongoing.
I think that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like we'll probably have to continue this hearing. So until the next hearing, we can work on trying to put some of the plantings maybe more visually on the site plan so you can see how they space out. We can add some more information about maintenance of the trees and shrubs over time. In case we have drought conditions or things like that. And then also getting the wetland delineation confirmed now that the weather is feasible. So we can work on those things offline and come back to you next time with some more information if you'd like.
Do we need it on with that short a schedule, or can we delay it for some months? It sounds like, we're not going to do anything until we actually take active action against the knotweed, etc.
Well, so the restoration plan is still tied to the knotweed treatment and the notice of intent. So ideally, you'd want it all packaged at once so you can issue the order of conditions.
Okay,
If that
fair
makes
enough.
sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. So can I get a motion to continue this at a future date? I don't know if we want to recommend a date. I mean, 2 weeks or sometime.
George, does that, if we continue, are we delaying the work on knotweed removal?
I think if it's one more meeting, it should be fine. Sarah, correct me on the date that we could possibly that was recommended by the professionals for treatment. Is it July, August? Am I making that up?
You mean the like Oxbow?
Yes, exactly.
I would need to refresh
Yeah.
my memory on that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I
But
don't think you'll be
believe it's
treating
in the
it in
summer.
May or June. It's later in the summer
Yeah,
usually.
it's definitely
Yeah.
later in the summer because they say they want it to be like at its full growth. So it's at its weakest, they say.
So it doesn't
I think I was
flower
out
until
there
late,
about-
late August, so that's the best time to kill it off.
I was out there a month ago and it hadn't even come up out of the ground.
Yeah.
I figured that's why you're waving her glass at me. I'll do it. Great.
So we could continue this to
Okay.
the
that'd be good.
23rd at 7:05.
I see no reason not
I
to.
move we continue it to the 23rd, 7:05.
Second,
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. We'll take a roll call vote. So Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
hi.
Dan,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
chair votes aye. The motion passes. Has anybody seen Nick yet?
I'm here, but I will
Okay.
vote on this. I joined partway through.
You can start now.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Didn't even see you.
Oh, there he is.
So you were here, what, 7:40 or something like that?
Yeah, 7:35 maybe. Yeah.
Okay, close enough. All right, moving on. It's after 7:25, so we can go to item number 2, which should have started at 7:20. Request for invalid certificate of compliance. This is 384 River Road, DEP file 125-1138. The applicant is Eileen English. This is removal of 42 trees within the 100-foot buffer zone on a bordering vegetated wetland. Work was never started. So it was issued originally back in 2023 on March 16. So Megan, thank you for the aerial photographs. Did you do those yourself?
Yes, I
Okay.
flew over myself.
You got your broomstick? Okay,
I
never mind.
became a bird.
But obviously the activity has not been they have not removed any trees. So your recommendation is?
Yes. Yeah, so I have the aerial photography just to show the difference from, or I guess the lack of difference from August 22 to September 2025. Obviously, the aerial's from September. So I did go out to the site just to double check that trees weren't removed, and yeah, I definitely if 42 trees were removed that you would have been able to tell, but I didn't see any stumps cut from even like 1 to 2 or anything like that.
Got it.
So if no work was ever started, then the mechanism is issuing an invalid certificate of compliance to close out the order of conditions. So that'd be my recommendation, but I'll leave the commission to ask any questions if they have any first.
No, I remember the
also-
project. So
Okay.
I
This is
just wanted
the
to bring up,
area.
wasn't a superseding order issued by
Ah,
DEP?
I didn't see that in the file anywhere, did I?
I
That
know there were a
was-
lot of comments from DEP, but I don't remember ever us.
That was
superseding
my
order.
recollection that the commission approved it, but it was appealed by the applicant due to the conditions and
Ah,
Yes, that did. Hi,
Oh,
I'm
I
here,
didn't
Aileen.
catch that.
Yes, that did happen.
in that case, you may need to get the certificate from DEP directly.
Okay. So
Oh,
I need
sorry,
to go
Rosa,
to
I
them.
didn't catch that.
I need to go to them to close it out.
It's just a
Yes.
letter. Yeah, write a letter. Check the order they issued. There should be instructions on it, but
Okay.
Do we
yeah, I
need
remember.
to do we need to contact the applicant just to let them know what we're planning to
I'm
do?
here.
I
here.
can help Eileen through it if she has any questions. I'm sorry, I missed that in the file. I didn't
Oh, no
notice that.
worries.
But I can help you contact them
Okay.
after the meeting.
Okay. That would be great. Okay.
Any other commissioners have comments? Anyone in the public? Then can I get a motion to authorize Megan Sullivan to work with Eileen and come up with a recommendation to get DEP to provide the certificate required?
So moved.
Second.
That's Brian. Dan. We'll take a roll call vote. Sylvia,
aye.
Dan,
I
Melissa.
Hi.
Brian,
Hi.
Nick,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye, the motion passes. All right, moving to item number 3. 725, we're well in the order here. So this is an enforcement order. Location is 509 South Street, my favorite street because that's where I live. And the property owner is Jesse Pescatori. So this was an unpermitted filing of border vegetated wetlands and associated 100-foot buffer zone, submission of restoration plan that was required by April 3rd, 2026. So I understand, well, the due date is passed. So Megan, you haven't still not seen anything, I presume?
I have not. I was emailing Jessie last week and earlier this week, and she said that Stamsky said that they wouldn't have the plan until late this week. I haven't gotten it yet, so no formal action needed on approval of a restoration plan unless you guys, want to take any other enforcement action, then we would just move to the next item
All
and
right.
continue this to the next meeting.
Any commissioners like to propose something different?
I won't propose anything different at this point, but it's not unusual in my experience, for these kinds of plans to be a little slow in the uptick. So,
Well, your instincts have been proven true. All right, so we will move on to the next item here. Number 4, OOC extension request. This is filed DEP 125-1192 at 229 Stern Street, parcel 9-19-8. The applicant is Jill Stefantis. It's the construction of a new sewage disposal system within the buffer zone. Applicant is seeking a 1-year extension. So Megan, you've been pursuing this. Do you want to give us a summary and then we'll open it up?
Sure. Yeah, the applicant asked for a 1-year extension, but their permit doesn't expire until February 2028. So I kind of recommended that they hold off, but I think they're worried about how long Board of Health is going to take to approve of their septic location. So they just want to be really prepared and extend it by a year, which would bring it to 2029.
So there's apparently no reason not to grant the extension, is my understanding.
Yeah, there's really in the regulations, there's not too much guidance on extensions besides your permit it can't be expired. Um, yeah, there's not that much guidance, so it's kind of discretionary.
It's
Understood.
a little out of the ordinary, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Like you said, Megan, why not just come back in a year? But maybe there's some reason. Is the owner on the call? Like maybe there's.
I sent the Zoom link, but they might not be on here.
I don't see her.
I haven't seen her either.
Yeah, I think they were just really worried about delays with Board of Health. Like I said, the extension process is pretty simple. Like you just request to be on an agenda and then we put you on the agenda. There's no like legal ad or anything. So typically it's pretty quick, so you don't have to do it this far in advance. But again, it's discretionary.
Only a 30-day requirement to notify the commission.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't see any problem. It's kind of like a precedent, though. Like, I don't see how it could be harmful. But if other people just want to they don't, some projects drag out 5-6 years, and this one, I don't know. It's kind of good to have that 3-year limit on the initial order, and sure, we're reasonable about extending it if needed, but.
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel comfortable just automatically giving them an extra year if it's not.
I agree. I don't see why we should be giving out extensions sort of for no apparent reason well in advance of when they're needed. And I mean, I don't think there's necessarily a huge harm, but on the other hand, like we want things to get done sooner rather than later, right? And so I don't think we should be giving people extra time that's not needed before it's apparently needed in the especially in the absence of any explanation as to why they need it. I mean, I think I'd be fine just telling them, look, if you run up against the deadline later, come back to us. It's easy, and if there's a good reason, no problem. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, not preemptively.
Well, they still have 2 years to go, which it's
Yeah.
not like it's a real problem here. So,
Exactly.
but I guess the question is, do we need an explanation why they want to have an early extension for something that's still 2 years away?
I think I would say for that far out, yeah. Like we shouldn't just be giving extensions just because people ask for it. If it's right before the timeline expires and then it's kind of obvious, like they just need more time because it's not done yet. But it's not obvious at this stage that they can't meet the existing timeline. And in the absence of some other explanation, I don't really see why we should grant it right now.
Yeah, the explanation they gave was because they wanted to plan ahead, because they're anticipating that there might be some delays from Board of Health. But I don't know about a 2-year delay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, that's pretty speculative, I think, pretty far out. Um, and sure, I mean, everybody would like to have
More
more time
time.
for everything,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But
Yep.
like they've got plenty of time, and if that ends up not being enough, they can come back to us.
So, Megan, can we get back to them and recommend that they delay requesting this till a later date when we
You
understand
can
the
just,
rationale?
yeah, I mean, you can just make a vote not to grant the extension, and then I can just reach out and let them know that when they need the extension as we get closer, then they can request it at any time.
I think that makes sense.
And just make sure they will probably get an extension when they need it, but they don't
Yeah.
seem to need it right now.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
All right. Can I get a motion to disallow or reject the extension?
So moved.
Second,
Oh, and Sylvia. And Brian, thank you very much. We'll take a roll call vote. Dan,
I
Sylvia,
aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Nick,
All right.
chair votes aye, the motion passes. All right. Item number 5, tree removal request. And we are still well within time. This is at 28 Woodbine Road. Matthew Riviere is the applicant. Request for the removal of one medium pine tree. I presume it says 13-inch, which I presume is the diameter, in the 100-foot buffer zone. So Megan, you figured out that it was a dead goner, as I recall.
Yes.
Well, it's a big
So
shit.
I think, yeah. So you can see the location of it where that red dot is. And the wetland is back here and right here. And then let me actually also pull up the picture. What was on here? Okay. And then you can see it's the top half has broken off. So no mitigation required under the tree removal policy for a tree that's already dead. I asked if they could keep 10 to 15 feet for a snag. They said, it actually is the property owner here before I speak for them. Um, I asked if they wanted to keep a 10 to 15 foot snag, but they said because their living area is right there, it wouldn't look very nice, but that they'd be willing to keep some of it, but not like 10 to 15 feet, maybe a little lower. But they said that they wouldn't disturb the soil in any way. They're not trying to remove the stump or anything like that. And it's fairly close to the driveway, so it's a good access point if there's any machinery needed to cut down the tree. think George stepped away. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, he's back. I just had a
Oh, okay,
thing
there
with
he
my
is.
wife. Sorry about that. So can we get a motion to approve removal of the tree at 28 Woodbine Road?
So
So
What
moved.
did you? Melissa, thank you. Second,
second,
Sylvia, thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll take a quick roll call vote. Dan, Sylvia,
aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
The chair votes aye, the motion passes. Thank you all. Moving on to page 5 of my agenda. Item 6, tree removal request for 242 Autumn Lane. Brian Larson is the applicant. This is a request for the removal of 5 large ash trees in the 100-foot buffer zone. And it sounds like, Megan, you went out and paid a visit.
I did. I will share this with you, and this by no means is exactly where the wetland is. This is very approximate, just for the record. There was an old site plan that was submitted, but I felt like this was a little bit more clear. But the 5 ash trees are just outside of the wetland in this approximate area. All the trees are dead. Because they're ash trees and they have emerald ash borer or evidence of emerald ash borer. And similarly, these 5 trees are dead, so according to the tree mitigation policy, there's no replacement plantings required. And once the trees are cut, they'll be taken out of the wetland, so they're not going to be left in the wetland or clog up the culvert that pipes under the stream or anything like that. And the property owner actually hired someone to do the removal with manual labor, so there won't be any cranes or anything like that. Apparently, it's just going to be someone who's going to scale the trees, and I don't even know. But he said there's no machinery. So yeah, I can pull up some pictures of the trees if you'd like, but does anyone have any questions?
Is Mr. Larson present?
He's not, he said
Okay.
he wasn't gonna have access to a computer to do this soon.
Okay. All right. Well, any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I do have a few, but did you want to show the pictures first? Megan?
Sure. So the ones that are shown with the orange are the ones that will be removed. So you can see like this one is already broken, this one has significant holes. So
Yeah, we see them.
and I asked, is there a reason you want to take them out? Because it's in a wooded area. It's not like they're hazards. So you can see the red house in the background is the property owner's house.
Far away.
But he doesn't like the dead trees. He thinks they don't look good in the area. So, I asked if you wanted to leave snags or anything, and he didn't really like that. So, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion to move here. Are any other commissioners?
I do have a few questions.
Go ahead.
So he did find someone who's game enough to tree climb to cut these down. That's someone with a lot of courage. Dead trees. In Massachusetts, there is a quarantine for moving ash trees that have the emerald ash borer from the state. So, I'm kind of interested in what the fate of these trees are, because it is recommended, from what research I've done, and I think we've asked this in the past for ash trees removals, that when they are removed, that they remain on the land, that they can either stay as logs on the land or they are burned or chipped. So it'd be nice to know from the fellow that he's going to be contracting what the plan is for that. I mean, they could have a chipper there and chip them all up and take it away, but moving trees that are infested with the emerald ash borer can lead to the ash borer to spread. At least that's what I understand from what I read. So can we find out what the plan is by the fellow who's going to be taking them down? Wouldn't want things to get any more spread around than they already are.
I would suggest maybe Megan could just inform them of the risks of that and the rules rather than delaying 2 weeks. But
Okay.
that's my thought.
Okay.
You know, what would that affect our decision? You know,
Don't know. I mean, probably not, but I think he needs to know the rules.
Condition?
What?
I can add it as a condition that they must be chipped or
Burned
must be
or
chipped or they can't be removed off site, something to that degree.
Well, open burn closes, I think, May 1st, so that has to happen pretty fast. And one of the things that I did notice when I drove by my one site visit this week is it looks like he's taken the plan that was up in the packet and outlined where the wetland was. There's some stakes around with flags hanging from them, so I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
so I guess the option here is to approve the plan, provided the resolution of the material once cut down is relayed back to the commission and is in compliance with the regulations.
And recommend well, it's what is at this point recommended by the state to make sure that this doesn't spread. So maybe before they come down, he should provide Megan with what the plan is for the trees once they come down.
For disposal. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So does that mean we should delay decision here until we understand what the plan is?
Well, if it's, take them to Canada, I'm sure that's not a good way to resolve it. So it would be against the law. So, presumably, I know Brian, I'm sure he will try to do the right thing.
I think you can be conditional.
Yeah, I do.
So
I can
can I
just
get
add
a
it as a
motion?
condition to the
Yeah.
permit or the removal form.
Okay.
Brian's gotten permits in the past from us. He's very careful.
So can I get a motion to approve this with the caveat that we need feedback on the proposed plan for disposal of the material?
In keeping with Mass law and recommendations.
So moved.
Make sense? Dan, can I
second,
get a second?
second,
Sounds like Brian and Nick. But a third, okay. We'll take a roll call vote. Nick, Brian,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Dan,
aye.
Sylvia.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion passes. Thank you all.
I think what's happening to a lot of our native trees is really tragic.
Agreed.
Starting with the American chestnut.
I think that's a topic for another time.
Yes, I agree.
All right, new and pending business. Item 7. Structuring of land management planning practices on conservation land. I believe we have a presentation from Sarah, is that right?
That is correct. I can take it away.
Well,
So,
sure, yeah.
just as a bit of context, my role with the town is land use and sustainability coordinator, which means that I spend a good part of my time working on energy efficiency and decarbonization projects on town buildings. But I also get to work on land use issues that come up over time. And one of my responsibilities is to help the town with creating a long-term land management plan for our conservation lands. Super simple and easy, of course. So the first step that, I'm taking towards this goal is to create a structure to organize, you know, having stakeholders at meetings and just basically creating the process by which a management plan would be um, drafted and created for ultimately approval by you folks on the Conservation Commission. So my role here tonight is hopefully to get your approval and or your feedback about this draft structure for um, this process. So hopefully we can do what we're calling like a trial or a pilot with uh, potentially the toll land being a pilot project but that could, be adjusted based on the commission's feedback, just as essentially a test run to make sure the process, um, flows well and gets us to the result that we need. Um, so because we don't want to embark on this what will probably be a, longer project without having a strong sense of what the structure will be. So I made some slides just because I'm a visual person. All right, I want to make sure it's presenting. So let's see. Okay, are you seeing just the slides? Does that look good? Or is it
Yep.
weird? Okay, great.
It
Sometimes
looks
it's weird.
good.
Great. So this is just the first slide kind of outlining the stakeholders that would be involved. So we have, of course, the Conservation Commission, which is the deciding authority when it comes to these lands, and then the committees that kind of fall under your umbrella. So trails, land stewardship, conservation restriction advisory. Then we have other land management and like sustainability related committees. So that includes AgCom and the ESC, who fall under the select board. And then you have other stakeholders like CCF who are a part of the conversation, or private farms. I'm thinking mostly like Clark Farm, or whoever ends up being the farmers of the particular land when it comes time to talk about a parcel that has that aspect to it. So this is just kind of the lay of the land. And then the first goal, I guess, is to establish a shared history establish a shared understanding of the property history and its current conditions. So what I've been working on for the past few months is reading through a lot of different files. We have a good number of baseline reports and management plans that the Land Stewardship Committee drafted over the years. Of course, the conservation files, the open space and recreation plan. So I've been reviewing that, and in advance of this, say, for example, we're going to do Toll Field as the first one, I would be compiling that information, and then other stakeholders would bring, residents and those who would be participating have the institutional knowledge and the lived experience, because a lot of folks have been in town for a while. And so that's kind of the staff side of things, and then where the committees come in for this first objective of establishing this shared understanding. Let's see. Why is it? Just want to make sure. Okay. So, like I said, I structured this with Toll being hypothetical first run of this structure. So the first step would be to gather all of the respective stakeholders at what is essentially be a summit. And the goals of this summit, there are three goals. So the first is, like before, establishing this shared understanding of current property conditions, as well as the history that we'd be bringing to the table, identifying short-term management needs, so things that need to be addressed, for within the next 3 years or so, and then listening and sharing what the visions are for the long-term future of the land. And obviously, that's going to be a really in-depth discussion between all of the different stakeholders. But from my perspective, as somebody who's mostly working on how to structure this so it can be the most conducive, I think it's really important to have as many voices as possible there, so we can get the greatest sense of how the town, all the different stakeholders in town feel about this piece of land and where they might see it going. So the next stage after this summit would be to assess all of these ideas, and identify any information gaps. Is there something that we need to know that we don't have about this piece of land? And if necessary, that's the finance committee would be involved in helping with the potential cost of a study or some other similar supporting resource if needed. And then ultimately, so say the study was done, the public would also be invited to give input. Of course, the finance committee is involved, and then all of the land use committees we saw before. And then, of course, it comes to the Conservation Commission to say, this is the goal we have, or these are the goals we have for this particular piece of land. And then on the staff side, we would begin putting all of that together and drafting a plan in accordance with that. And then this is, probably further down the line. This would not be, a couple of weeks. This would take a good chunk of time to do right. But essentially, all of the stakeholder committees would have the opportunity to review a draft plan. And then ultimately, there would be a final draft plan that the Conservation Commission approves. And this looks so nice and clean, and I'm sure it would, not be as straightforward as this looks. But this is the general idea of a structure that I'm hoping to, help lead as a way to move forward at finding these long-term goals for our conservation lands. So I believe that's the end of that. I'll stop sharing for now, but happy to put something back up later. Yeah, but ultimately what I'm looking for from you folks tonight is hopefully an okay to go ahead with this structure, or if you have feedback, you think something should be included that isn't there, or you want some, you think maybe somebody, the meeting should be held in a different order or what have you. I'm looking to hear all of that. So, yeah, I'll end there and happy to hear anything folks want to say.
Do you have an expected time to take this initial go round through the process? Are we hoping to do that in a year or
Well, yeah, so Ryan has given me the timeline of hopefully going through this pilot run by the end of June.
okay?
This
So
year?
that, yep. Just for
Wow.
just for one piece of land.
Yeah,
So it
right.
would be just for, say, Toll, for example. It would just be one. Yeah, that's the idea, to give this structure a run. And then, moving, and then we would move on to the next, whichever the next piece of land ends up being, that would be the next one. And it would hopefully be like an iterative process that would get us to having a comprehensive plan for the properties we have in town.
It's going to be interesting because, every property is different. So there are going to be different topics and angles that we need to consider for each one. So I applaud you with your goal, shall we say?
Well, it's what I've been directed, the select board via Ryan is, they're looking to have this sort of long-term vision.
Mhm.
And so that's what I've been tasked to help achieve.
Well, that's great. Any other commissioners with comments?
I like
I'll
it.
get to you, Steve. Hold on.
I like it. And even though the properties are different, the process doesn't need to be different.
I
Okay.
might,
All right.
I might
Sylvia?
suggest a smaller piece of land for starters. Um, um, we've got lands as small as 2 acres, but toll is 120. And it's got forests and aging forests. There's a little dam. There's 20-acre field. And I know when the land stewards got started, they came up with what they felt should be included in a baseline assessment. And they looked around and said, what should we do? And they picked Fox Hill because Fox Hill was somewhat simple. It didn't have all this complexity to it, although it had a vernal pool and some forested area and a highway that runs at the base of it. But it was easy to do because it wasn't complicated.
But that's actually why I like the idea of Tollfield. It's more challenging and more comprehensive, and it would give us a
By
real.
June?
Huh? What? Oh, by June?
Yeah.
By June is a little tough.
Yeah.
Sarah,
But
Sarah,
in terms of a pilot, it has all the, it has multiple ingredients, multiple stakeholders. It's a realistic, real world.
let's ask Sarah why she chose that particular site.
Well, it wasn't just me who made that decision, but we had kind of a few initial conversations with a couple of folks from LSC and conservation. It was kind of entwined with a discussion about CPA. So Barney Arnold was there, and Ryan and I, and essentially we narrowed down like the top 4 priorities in terms of like pressing issues and parcels that need to um, establish long-term goals to help guide present-day decisions. And those were Toll, Foss Farm, the Cranberry Bog, and Woodward. And so out of those 4, Toll is actually probably the most approachable. So that is essentially how we landed there. It's not, set in stone, so this feedback is really helpful. So yeah, I think that was the reasoning. It wasn't, anything super, intensive in terms of making that decision, but that was how we landed there as a potential pilot to test out this structure.
I would agree
Sense
with
to
all
me.
4 of those that could use some.
Yeah, but I think I think your decision-making process was good actually in my view, but
Any other commissioners with comments? Steve, you had your hand up first.
Sure, just a small point, but in your first slide, the Trails Committee reports to the Select Board, not Conscom.
Oh, thank you. My apologies.
Alex.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, hi. I think, well, first of all, thank Thanks. I mean, Sarah, thanks for that. I think the inputs are good. I think, and no disrespect intended, I think the process is a little staff oriented and not enough citizen oriented. So, as I understand the process that you're envisaging, is that ultimately Conscom will be given a report that kind of filters all of the input that you've received from all the various committees, but the filtering, I think, should be done by a representative body, or at least by a representative body in collaboration with staff. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Christina.
Hi, thank you. I've actually already mentioned this to Sarah, but I'll just mention that here in the CONSCOM meeting. To me, it makes sense for the first parcel to be a parcel that actually does encompass all the stakeholders currently. It seems like toll currently doesn't necessarily encompass all the stakeholders, and so I actually agree with Sylvia as well. Maybe starting with a simpler, smaller parcel that possibly has all stakeholder involvement already on that parcel could be easier, an easier way to see if the process works. So that was my comment. Thank you.
Those were both really helpful comments. I have just a follow-up question. I'm still working on my knowledge of all the town lands. Is there a piece of conservation land that is both small and involves all stakeholders that isn't toll? Like, as far as I'm aware, Fox Hill wouldn't necessarily encompass all of them, but I could be wrong. I just want to see if anybody has like alternatives for me to look into.
So there are pieces of land, conservation land, for example, that are not necessarily agricultural, but they do have conservation restrictions on them, but do have, say, mowing and trails. One that comes to mind is Benfield. And it's pretty much an open field, but it's portion of it's got a septic system. And it goes down to lowland. It's got a public water supply well, so it's got complications, but it isn't agricultural, but it still needs some maintenance. And it's a little smaller. Let me see, what's the size of Benfield? It's about 26 acres. It's not quite as big, but it doesn't, for example, have an enormous forest that goes with it. It doesn't have a stream that goes down through the middle of it. And it's kind of begging for a management plan. But there's also a CR so you need to mesh come up with the conservation restriction. So that's a possibility. And it's got invasive plants. You can't use herbicides on it to manage them because of the public water supply. Beautiful wildlife viewing platform on it, though. You've been doing?
Thanks.
So, there are a whole bunch of issues that you're eventually going to have to take into account. And no one piece of property is going to have them all.
Right.
So I guess the question is, how much can you bite off in this first attempt? And then maybe it's worthwhile putting together a spreadsheet for each land and the topics and say, that this one's got wetlands or it's got wildlife or fauna of unique species or something like that.
And some have rare species, some don't.
Right.
That's a helpful
So,
suggestion.
And we have 2 pieces of land that are inaccessible. Now that's a challenge.
When it comes to the structure, and I really appreciate those suggestions, but it sounds like the structure itself, like the organization of the meetings, is generally looking pretty good. I definitely take, Alex's really helpful note to make sure that it is focused on like citizen input, resident input, and committees involved to make sure that their role is clearer and more pronounced because I agree. So as far as I can tell, it seems like the structure itself beyond that looks pretty good. I think at this point, just want to make sure that, you know, I have the okay to continue this process and hopefully get this going. Just as a first pass at trying to make this plan.
I
So
made
can I
some notes on this thing, which I could send you.
Okay, great. Yeah, that would be great.
And as far as the private farms, for example, it's not necessarily private, but I added Great Brook Farm State Park. Because we have a farmer that
Right.
So can I get a motion for the Conservation Commission to support Sarah's design, at least initially, and we look forward to seeing the results, and we'd be happy to help you out as best we can.
I'll move that.
Ryan, thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second it with agreeing with Alex that it needs to be community and board driven from a policy perspective.
Right. And any management plan needs to have a public hearing.
Of course.
I agree.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
All right. So can I get a roll call vote for this motion? Sylvia?
Aye.
Is Dan still here? He was going to leave around after 7-ish. Melissa?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion passes.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
More to come.
We'll be here. So that was probably around 8:15. Okay. All right. Moving on to item number 8. We need a lawnmower. So discussion of specification for a mower to be purchased for trail maintenance on conservation land. So I gather you've been looking at this, Megan. I see you said 2 quotes, 3 vendors, and received 2 quotes. I see 3 quotes.
Yeah, sorry, it's supposed to be 3. I can't count.
Okay. And you want to make a quick comparison? And then is Eric here to give us a? He was here.
I don't know if he's here, but he sent me an email. Oh, he is here.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, great. So, Melissa, you just want to give us a quick summary of the 3 that you looked into, as they're
Yeah,
all
so I
pretty
was
close to
just
the same price.
Sure. I was just gonna note that Jim Hall of our DPW, he sent me an email that I put in the meeting packet stating his preference for a gas-powered mower. And so I checked in with Gretchen at the town hall, and she said that we should still follow the procurement laws. So I reached out to 3 different vendors, and I got 3 quotes for the same gas mower. So they all came in pretty close in price. So United Ag and Turf was $9,866, Ritchie and Clapper was $9,859, and then Cassins, I don't know if I'm saying that right, is $9,599. So I thought it would be useful for the commission to see the prices of the gas mower, know Jim's preference, and then we can also hear Eric's recommendation because he did a bit more research to get a final price on that electric mower that we were talking about at the last meeting. So I just figured once you hear from him, and you know what Jim's preference is and what the prices are for the gas mower, then after that you can make your final decision on which mower you all prefer.
Megan, did Jim say why he prefers gas-powered more?
Yeah, there was a few reasons. He said the gas mowers that they have at DPW, they've had for like 20 or 30 years and they're very reliable. He also pointed out that specifically for trail mowing, you know, it's a little separate than field mowing. So specifically with trail mowing, because you're getting further away and in a more remote location, he didn't feel comfortable not being able to like bring a gas can out in case you run out. Like he didn't feel comfortable relying on like the energy source of an electric mower compared to a gas mower. But he did say that he would be open to doing some demos. So I think you know, if the commission decides to go with gas today, Jim said he was interested in doing some demos for something in the future. But I'll leave that up to you all, and I think Eric looked into that a bit more.
Sure. There are a couple things. One is, Jim certainly has a preference, and a lot of it's based on his past experience, right? Which he's very, very comfortable with gas-powered equipment. Some of the specific things that he brought up, I can sort of address. At one point, he talked about, a particular spec on the electric mower that said a maximum slope of 20 degrees. I looked at the Skag mower. You have to dig a little bit deeper into their manual. It's the same. So, they are truly equivalent machines. Regarding running out of gas, running out of energy, these mowers come with a lot of instrumentation on them. They are measuring and recording the energy that's going out of the battery, the energy remaining that's left. If anybody runs out of energy, they're just not looking at the instrument. Gas mowers don't have that, right? So gas mowers don't have a fuel gauge, so to speak. They might have a visual that you could still not look at. This is part of the console. So that's still familiarity. He hasn't really had experience with the mowers. I think some of the things can be set aside when we do a trial. He was agreeable to that, and that's a no cost to Carlisle trial. They get it, they deliver it, they leave it for a few days, and then they come pick it up at no cost. So I'm going to continue to work with Jim to make that happen, so that we at least, increase the familiarity that he has with the e-mower. The other thing that's important to note is that when I prepared that first spreadsheet, I had received basically what you call a cut sheet with a 10th anniversary pricing, which I actually used the discount rate that they had done on the gasoline mowers from list to net, and that was 20%. I got an official quote 2 days ago, and that's in the material that I recently sent to Megan. They don't discount, they hardly discount at all. I think maybe $1,000 they discount it. So the price of the mower, the final price of the mower after discount is a bit higher than what in the spreadsheet that you saw. So the Skag from the original quote was $98.60 total for the 24 kilowatt hour 52-inch cut, which is the same cut as the Skag. The final price after the $3,500 credit or incentive from Mass Save would drop that to $14,930. So basically $5K more than the gasoline. I had expected a similar, what do you call it? A similar discount from list to net, and that, for one reason or another, did not happen. And I also, when I talked to Richie and Clapper? Richie and Clapper, I described very clearly that I'm collecting information to be able to provide to you. I am not part of the procurement process. So, he understood exactly my role. And you can see the actual invoice went to, I think, Gretchen with Jim Hall listed as a contact. But that's a request that I made just to follow up an official. I told him that you'd be reviewing stuff like this today. I do, he was also, 24 kilowatt hours is huge. You probably heard and may remember the comment that was made last time that Jonathan DeCock, I think, made a comparison to a battery in a vehicle and the range and so on and so forth. So with that said, it's hard to sort of go against Jim's long experience with gasoline powered equipment. At some point, the transition will take place. We'd like to have it now, but that's your call.
Yeah, I guess I'm not 100%. I'd be curious to hear what other commissioners think. I have a strong reluctance to go contrary to what Jim would like to do here. But I also feel like it sounds like a lot of it is sort of based on familiarity, and I don't mean to dismiss that, but I think like, you're not going to be familiar with a battery motor until you use a battery mower until you use one, and if you just keep getting gas ones all the time, you never will. And it sounds like some of the issues are not really issues so much as or they're not really like limitations so much as just like he's not familiar with them because he hasn't used them before, which I get, and I don't mean to trivialize that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not I guess I'm not 100% sold on those concerns.
Eric,
Yeah, and so, I mean, you said it well. I think you said it well. It's hard to make that first transition. So I collected information from other surrounding communities and other users of the electric mowers, and the biggest drawback was first cost. What the
Right,
fellow in
which is
Concord said that
that's not his problem,
well,
really.
and the on the first cost side, I'm sorry, on the use by the operators, his comment was they loved them. The people that actually do the mowing. That's just, that's a piece of feedback from Concord.
So quick question, Eric. How many hours will the mower you're talking about run?
It says 7.5 to 8 hours.
And then my other question, so acknowledging that the cost of the electric mower is about 50%, 150% of the cost of the gas. What about operating costs?
That was at the last meeting. There's a lot more information associated with that, and there was some studies that were done that I was able to dig up from trade journals, not the ones that are they're not e-mower journals. They're professional or trade journals for professional lawn care, and they made the comparison when the price differential was much even greater than that they had a rough estimate of about 2,500 operating hours to break even between the first cost and the operating cost differential.
And how many months or years would it be that
I think that's on the
reach
order, the way
2,500?
they described it, it was something on the order of 3 or 4 years.
So that's a fairly long time for break even, but
It's a long lifetime piece of equipment, so it depends on how you want to think about it. It's not a first year type thing. I agree with you there.
how many years is the battery guaranteed for?
I do not know that off the top of my head, but I do know that the battery technology continues to get better, and I would say it could be approaching a decade. I do have some other insight from one particular car maker. There's a customer that had taken the vehicle, something I think it was 300,000 miles, almost unheard of. And they're at the point now where, and that's on the original battery on an EV.
That's a little, yeah, that's
It's N equals
yeah,
one.
that's gives us all
So-
hope. I guess
yeah,
my
no,
question
but-
is more like, what do we have? Is there a difference in the warranty period and so forth?
That I don't know.
New
I-
battery
you
is
know,
pretty expensive in any electric, vehicle of any size, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I think at this point, the durability of the batteries is still yet to be proven, i.e. that they're
Right.
not failing right now.
Well, and last question for you. Do we know, maybe for Megan, do we know what the delivery times are for?
That I looked into. What he said was
Is-
they're essentially the same. There's no real issue with delivery. That they had some in stock. And so and not a significant delta for getting it delivered. That was a conversation with the particular person at Ritchie and Clapper.
Is that true also of the gas mowers? Are they in stock?
I
We
think
can
that
get them
was
right
the
away?
same. I think there was some. And what I
Yeah.
couldn't assess is, how many e-mowers he has in stock versus how many gas mowers he had in stock. But he described it as not an issue.
So where I'm going with my question is really whether, if Jim were to get a trial like right away, we don't have a lot to mow right now. That's the
Yeah, so
problem.
that'd be the harder piece. You could certainly try, you'd learn some things, but you wouldn't learn everything that he'd want to learn.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I was given a free electric mower that I needed to rehabilitate a while back, and the new lithium battery that I put on it is warranted for 10 years. Apparently, it goes something ridiculous like 100,000 cycles. So you can use it quite a bit. Um, the other thing that I just wanted to mention, and I mentioned this at the last meeting too, was I think it's important for us to know or to understand what constraints we have on timing here. Like there's the constraint of we need to mow the field or the trails in May. There's also probably a constraint on spending the money by the end of the fiscal year, I suspect. And I'm just wondering if there's any other constraints that are necessary because I'm just wondering if it's possible for us to do something in the interim. And I mentioned that, if it's something that gives us more room to be able to make a decision on a piece of equipment that's likely to last 25 years, then although I can't do it an entire summer like Steve has been doing, I could mow the trails once in May to give us more time to make a decision. So if that's helpful to the commission in deciding this, I'll volunteer that. That's it.
Thank you. That's a good point.
It would be nice to know what the electric mower is warranted for. I mean, I suspect it's not warranted for 25 years, so.
Oh, nothing, I don't think you'll find anything warranted for 25, even a
Yeah, I
Scott.
know, but we do have gas equipment that does run for 25 years.
I will,
The question is whether, if we have to replace a battery in a big electric, or I guess, A, can they even do that? And B, what would that cost? Because,
well, you can definitely replace the battery, and I would, I would want to dig into Jim's comment because IC engine rebuilds are like a replacement, right? I mean, it's you can rebuild a substantial part of it. I mean, you're not like the electric motors live the life of the mower, an internal combustion engine, the crankcase and things like that stay, but you do a significant rebuild on an engine. I'll double check with Jim when he said this high durability, he may not be counting in engine rebuilds and stuff like that.
I guess what I'm missing is a apples to apples comparison between the different models from a cost, a warranty, replacement, all that sort of thing. Sounds we're dancing around the edges here, and we need a little bit more information. But Megan, you are hoping to make a decision tonight. Thanks to Jonathan, maybe we don't have to make it tonight. Can we delay our decision for, another meeting and try to get everything on the same page so we can make a direct comparison?
I mean, I think to Jonathan's point, there are some time constraints with the fiscal year winding down, like he mentioned, and also needing to mow. I know he mentioned he could cover May, so if we got the mower by June, then it would be fine. I just want to avoid continuing again and again and again because I think this is the third time and I think there's additional questions every time. So I guess if there are more questions, and we continue again, my hope is that we can really think about all the questions we have and really iron it out, rather than just kind of pushing it off. I mean, they're all great questions, but I think, Jim is also eager to get the mower because although the mower will be used on conservation trails, I think DPW will also be using it other places. So I just wanted to mention that. But I also think, the one of the things that's kind of holding back the conversation is that Jim's not really comfortable with the e-powered mower, and he would need to do a trial or something to be comfortable with it. So, I don't know how feasible it is, Eric, for a trial to be done between now and, if Jonathan maintains the trails in May, between now and say the start of June, does that give us enough time to get a trial done, do you think?
why would Jim need more than a week or
Well, I just don't know like the
two using the mower
availability.
to make a
Well, we
judgment
don't know
one
if we
way or the
can get
other?
the trial. We don't know how quickly we can get them to do the trial.
I don't know, Eric, didn't you say they could do it right away?
He indicated a pretty quick time turnaround for doing the trial, and he mentioned I think like 3 days, or he was seemed pretty flexible. And the ideal situation would be to actually for Jim to be able to mow something. So it would be, if we did it today, it wouldn't be as useful as if we did it, when you might do the
Right.
so at a
So,
later
so
point.
if Jim needs to mow in May, why can't he use the electric mower for the trial and see if he likes it? And if he likes it, we keep it. And if something like that, and if he doesn't, we order the alternative. We could, right? No, wouldn't that work time frame wise?
It sounds like it would.
I would feel a lot more comfortable about helping make a decision once I find that Jim has tried the e-mower.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm feeling pressured.
Well, I don't feel pressure so much, but I just feel like we're making a decision without necessarily, as George pointed out, the apples to apples. Plus,
You don't buy a car
Jim's
without trying
comfort
it.
zone, right? Those two things I think are important, right?
Yeah,
agree
I agree
with
with
you.
that. I agree with that. And I think I would sort of, I don't know, Jim, but I would sort of ask him to be open to this, step outside his comfort zone a little bit. But yeah, it's a lot easier to do that if he's had a nice go at it. And it sounds, I don't know, maybe I'm missing things, but it kind of sounds like that is feasible between the timing, how quickly Eric's saying they can turn it around, Jonathan's kind offer to help if we need it in the meantime. And
Mhm.
Melissa, you make a good point. He could use the mower to do some of the mowing that needs to be done during the trial period,
All
which
of the mowing that he
would
might
be
otherwise do, right?
kill two birds with one stone. Yeah.
Right.
This coming out of
So-
our budget.
Yes.
Yes.
So if he's using it for conservation land and other land, is it all coming out of our budget?
The idea is yes. I think it's like a shared services type thing, which I think happens a lot in the town hall with a lot of just to save money. The town shares a lot of services with different departments.
Who are we sharing the cost with?
Well, we would be paying for it, but they would be providing us with the service of mowing.
I got it.
manpower.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you.
But probably, Reccom could use it, and the dog park could use it, and I don't
My
know.
house could use it. Yes. Okay.
We could use
I
it
mean,
over here.
DPW seems to do a lot of stuff for us. Every time I need a hole filled at the cranberry bog, they're there pretty quick.
Yes,
So
I agree. They're very responsive.
So
Would anybody besides DPW be operating this?
I mean, I haven't thought about it. I assumed it'd only be DPW, but I'm sure if someone from conservation wanted to take
No,
a first
just
spin.
checking. No, just checking,
Probably not. So, I tend to agree. I think what we're hearing here is that we need to get Jim to do an evaluation with an electronic version and be able to do an apples to apples comparison and say, okay, which one do you like? And what's the rationale? And then make a decision based upon that. So
Okay, so-
is that something you could coordinate, Megan, with Eric's
Yeah,
help?
I can continue to work with Eric and try to coordinate that, and then hopefully, at the beginning of May when things are able to be mowed, and we can get a trial, then we can have Jim try it out, and then I can put it on an agenda after for us to really finalize what mower based on his experience with gas and electric. That would be a more fair comparison.
I agree. And
I just add
hopefully-
that I really like what you guys were saying earlier too, that it'd be important to get the apples to apples comparison in kind of like a spreadsheet or something. I don't know exactly how you do it, but something that spells out how many hours does it run, before running out of gas or electricity, how effective is it to recharge? Does it recharge overnight, or do you have it sit there for multiple days? That kind of stuff. What's the warranty? all
Yep.
those kind of things are important factors to consider in.
And then, what's the MRO for some period, comparable period of time? And I'm not really sure what that period is. Is it a 10-year? Is it a 15-year? Is it a 25-year?
Well, define it and let them tell us for each version what the answer is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
cost of
sales
ownership.
pitch for the vendors here, that their opportunity to sway us one way or another. So, Megan, if it's all right by you, can I get a motion for you to coordinate with Eric and Jim and see about getting some experience for Jim to at least try one of these units and try to do an apples to apples comparison and get back to us? That makes sense?
Yeah.
So can I get a motion from a commissioner?
So moved.
Melissa. Oh, no, sorry. Sylvia.
Second.
Thank you. We'll take a roll call vote. Nick.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Sylvia.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion passes. Thank you. All right. Item number 9. Discussion of interim maintenance for Woodward Fields. So the remaining LSC members put together a recommendation. This is Megan's word. Maybe you should present this, Megan. I'm just reading your red lines, so.
Yeah, so this was put together maybe by Alex. Do you want to present? I can share my screen if you want, unless you have it.
Yeah, if you can bring it up on the screen. Chris Spinney prepared this for you. He's winging his way to France on vacation right now, so you got me. So Chris and I and Jonathan DeCock and Steve Tobin met out on Woodward just to survey what might possibly be done fruitfully this year, while at least get things underway while we're in this no man's land where LSC is probably not going to be up and functioning until June or July. So with that said, we walked the property, and you'll see that Chris has put out some numbers in boxes 1, 3, 2, and 4. 1, 3, and 2 are the points of frontage along Maple Street, and then between 2 and 4 is to the boundary with 106 Maple Street, which is labeled 13-75-2 on the plan. And I'm going to combine the two, the discussion of the two for brevity. Basically, all along Maple Street and then all along the boundary with 106 Maple Street, pretty much is wire fencing at the edge of the open fields, and beyond that, going to the stone walls which run along the boundary with 106 Maple, and also stone walls running around along the edge of Maple Street, is a no man's land of bittersweet, multiflora rose, and the width of that sort of strip of invasives, varies very significantly depending upon where you are. But if the Conservation Commission were interested in trying to start dealing with that issue, we would need to figure out a way to remove the fencing, and then be able to go in and clear the invasives. We did have some discussions, and I think there's a significant possibility that we could put together a fairly sizable volunteer force. But I think we would need the assistance of DPW and their equipment. From a permitting perspective, if not the entirety of that area, probably 80% of the area that we're talking about is buffer zone. With respect to Maple Street, you see below the number 1372A-M2, 2 acres, there's a wetland that's pretty much impounded by Maple Street, but it projects a 100-foot buffer zone along, on the Woodward property along Maple Street.
I'm sorry, Alex, could you just repeat what you said about which lot it is? Because I'm a little confused. You said that, is it the 1374?
13-72A-M2 on the other side of Maple Street.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
So there's a wetland that's pretty much, impounded by Maple Street there, but it projects its buffer zone onto the Woodward property. And then, thank you for bringing up that plan. With respect to the boundary along 106, you can see a 100-foot buffer zone projecting onto Woodward a good distance. In terms of permitting, I just put this out there. I'm not asking you to make any decisions. There are some alternatives. We're still within, if we presume that Woodward would be deemed to have been fallow, we're still within the 5-year period. So I think a lot of this reclamation of field edge could be done under exemption for, normal maintenance of agricultural land. I think with respect to Maple Street, the Maple Street section, there's a pretty good argument to be made that the work, because of the impoundment and the effect of Maple Street, the impoundment would mean that the work on the Woodward side could be determined not to have an effect on the wetlands. And then there's some exemption for street safety work. I don't think that exemption is sufficiently broad because it's limited, I think, to 5 feet beyond sightline distances. And that area that needs to be cleaned up there is quite wide. But that said, I think there are viable permitting options that could be undertaken fairly quickly. So that's sort of one category of work that we discussed. Secondly, although we didn't much discuss it on the site walk, Steve had brought up, continuing removal of the black swallowwort and Canadian thistle, probably hand removal. And then the third category, to bring the property into compliance with the CR, would be a mowing or grazing of the fields. So those are the categories we discussed. I think our recommendation would be for Conscom to take a site visit. I would add that if you could post it as a public meeting, invite the abutters, invite CCF, invite AgCom, invite CRAC to tag along, and then circle back to make a decision. One of the things that LSC is not in a position to do until it's reconstituted is if there's volunteer, labor involved, it will need supervision of a, town body. I would suggest that maybe Conscom would appoint one of its members to do that. But there are other alternatives, Trails Committee, and eventually I would hope LSC will be back on. So I'm sure I've left things out. Jonathan or Steve can cover what I've missed, I hope.
Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
So one thing that Alex didn't mention was there's a bunch of fencing that's already been taken down by the Trails Committee, and it's stockpiled off to the side. And so one of the decisions that we'll need Conscom to make is what do we do with the fencing that's already stockpiled there, and what do we do with the fencing that we remove? And so, my personal preference would be that we use the fencing in some way, shape, or form for a town function. But
Right.
I'm sure that, people would also want it, like we could give it away to farmers or individuals or whatever. But it's something to think about. There was one other thing, and I think it needs more work because we're waiting for Stamsky. But I think it would be good for the commission to be able to see the boundary line to 106 to understand the problems that we're having there.
And just an update on that, Stamsky said that they would be out next week to put the stakes in.
Good.
So if that's the case, then I would recommend that in this meeting, if possible, you guys set a time to at least do an initial visit. I don't think you necessarily need to do just one visit to this property, but I think to familiarize yourselves with it, it would be really cool if we could set a time to have the commission come out and see it in daylight.
But also invite the public too, so that other
Yeah.
interested parties can come out and get a live, real look. I agree with that.
And the sooner the better before the foxtails start to set seed heads. And we just add to the burden of non-native grass.
Yeah. I will say that my assessment was that we don't have to do anything like with respect to mowing like instantly. Like last year it was left fallow, but there's not a whole lot of woody stuff that's other than the invasives that were there that's growing up in the middle of the field. So it's not necessary to immediately go out and mow. And so we could leave that for a while. So the commission has time to make decisions. We don't have to do anything instantly.
Probably the tall grass got laid over by all the snow we had. So it might be a challenge to mow. Or maybe you've got more experience than that than I do.
I don't think it would mow right now. The grass would maybe it's just all laid over.
Yeah.
Mm. So do we need to get a motion to have Megan schedule an on-site during daylight times and with a public notice to invite interested parties? And I don't know if you want to do this on the weekend or what, for a lot of people work, like me.
So I can definitely post a public meeting and invite people, but I would prefer for the date and time to be set at the meeting with the commissioners at least. just because it's hard to facilitate a date and time via email and easier when everyone is kind of in the same room. So, and maybe if some commissioners throw out some days, whether a weekend works better or a weekday morning or afternoon or evening.
And what's the notice period, Megan?
It should just be 48 hours with the
Yeah,
town
Public?
clerk.
Yeah, okay.
normal. We have nice long afternoons now.
Yeah, it's perfect
Good.
time. Weather's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's great to get out there at like 5:30 or 6. There's still plenty of time to see stuff if you get there at 6 until 7:30 when it's dark.
So I'm looking at my calendar. 16th looks like a great time for me, but
I think the weather is good that day too.
sorry.
I was saying, I think the weather looks good next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Not that that matters, but better than
Well,
the rain.
we'll get a greater turnout if it's sunny and nice.
Yeah. How about Thursday?
16th is good for me too.
You want to say 5 or 5:30 for 5:30 to 7 or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm out of town next week, but that probably won't be workaroundable. So proceed without me, and I'll see if I can get there another time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Nick. So, Megan, do we need to make a motion to recommend that you do this, or is it obvious?
I don't think so. I think it's
Okay.
obvious. Just a site visit. Doesn't seem like any actual management decisions are being made. It's just a site visit to talk about it. So,
Looks like
or to
Steve
view,
Tobin
rather.
has his hand up.
You might think about where you're going to park if you have a bunch of people coming.
Right, right.
Or carpool and drive over from Kimball's.
Will the committee buy ice cream?
You're the chair, you're paying.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
There is one other small item. I'm going to put my CCF hat on a minute, which is if we do go ahead and remove the stuff, the CR requires approval from CCF. We happen to be meeting on Monday, and so Steve and I could potentially take something to the CCF board about that if you wanted.
So George, we can all park in there. At the limitation of 2 parking spaces was for the licensee. I had talked before to Ryan, and that in our official capacity, we can all park inside if we need to, or even out on the street, even where it says no parking. That we're exempt from that if we're working in our official capacity as municipal, whatever it's called, non-paid municipal employees, whatever it is.
Okay, well, that's a good point.
Shouldn't be an issue.
It's going to be quite a crowd. There's
Yeah,
not
I
much
think
space.
I think legally you can probably do that. I just don't know if it's a good. I don't know. I've heard there's some like traffic concern, safety concerns, so I don't know if it'd be a great idea to park in the area. But I'll
We
leave
can
that up
park
to
in
you
the
guys.
field. We
Okay.
park in the field, it's not a traffic concern. It's just,
Oh, okay. I thought you said where the no parking signs were.
well, or somebody might want to park out there. I don't know.
Public?
Pardon?
So,
Well-
Is that okay, George?
Sure, go ahead, Sue. Sorry.
I know Brian just said you can still just park outside on the street, but actually the safety committee and the town select board said, no, you can't. So I know that you and I have disagreements about that, but there's legally signs that say you can't park there. As far as in the field, there's always been concerns about safety and the quantity of cars, and because it is quite a dangerous curve and you'll be coming at commute time. So I love the idea Melissa had of maybe, lessening some of the cars and just, being a little bit more careful and park at Kimball's and commute on over. It's not that far.
Well, can we actually use Kimball's?
they've been pretty amazing. Or there's also five parking spots to get to this field, quite frankly. Yes, it's very convenient to just pull in that little entry. But there's two parking spots at Woodward and in the village, right there. There's Foss Farm, there's Greeno, and there's two other parking spots at the other end of Maple. There's quite a bit of parking, and I know Grow Native didn't find any issues with parking at Kimball's. She did call in advance, so I'm not sure if maybe the commission just could pop in a quick phone call.
Yeah,
I
I
think
can
that
check
makes
with them
sense.
and give them a heads up.
Yeah, they're really awesome.
All right, Sue, thank you very much.
Thank you for letting me chat.
All right. So I think we have marching orders. I look forward to the visit. I think that will be fun.
What time was that?
I think we said
5:30.
5:30 to 7 or something
Okay.
like that.
All right.
5:30, April 16th, which is a Thursday.
Right.
5:30 p.m.
Do we want to put an end time too that people have to leave?
I think we said to
Sure.
7, right?
5:30
Well,
to 7?
I said 5:30 to 7.
Oh, yeah.
I think you need to specify an end time so people know enough to go home. No tents allowed. Boy Scouts cannot camp there. Okay.
The
Enough
mosquitoes will
said.
come out anyway, George, so it'll be time to go.
I'm more worried about the ticks. I already picked up one this year.
Me too.
All right. Moving on to item 10, I believe. We're at review and approval of mowing scope of work for conservation land. So sounds like, Megan, you're working on this, but it's not available yet, and you recommend that we address this in the meeting on 4/23?
Yes. When I posted the agenda, I thought I would have it done in time, but then I just couldn't quite get it done in time. But just for everyone to know, I'm working on drafting a scope of work for mowing of the conservation lands in town that need it. And as of now, this includes Benfield, Toll, Foss, and Cranberry Bog. I need to reach out and make sure that those are the only lands still, with some of our stewards and experienced conservation commissioners behind the scenes. But in accordance with procurement laws, once the commission has agreed on the scope of work, my plan is to send out that mowing scope to at least 3 interested mowers, maybe more depending on how many interested people we have. And then we'll get all the quotes back, and the commission can select which mower they see fit. And my vision is to have the mowing agreements and contracts be for more than just 1 year, possibly 2 or maybe 3, just so you don't have to do the procurement on an annual basis. So just an idea I have, nothing set in stone. You'll all decide that, but just wanted to let you all know what I'm working on behind the scenes and what my ideas are. So hopefully I can have that in the next commissioner packet for the April 23rd meeting. But that's kind of my plan and process. So if any of you have any comments on that, recommendations while I work on this, happy to take your feedback and incorporate it as I work on this.
So my only issue would be, are we going to ask the mowers to clean their mower between properties so they don't spread invasives?
Yeah, we can
Or it's
absolutely
not
do that.
convenient, right? I mean, if you're at Woodward, there's no water. What are you going to do, right?
Yeah, I think when we were talking about the DPW mowing, the conservation lands, this came up, and the solution was to just use a leaf blower to blow off your mower before you go to another site. Because yeah, there's not always water available, to your point. But I think that's feasible and a reasonable request that we could make.
Megan, just to be clear, this is field mowing, not trail mowing,
Yes,
right?
field mowing, yes. Sorry, I should have specified that.
Okay.
All right, Megan, have fun.
Thank you. I
Item,
will.
item number 11. So this is a discussion of Cranberry Bog Dam number 1, next steps. So do we have a presenter from Geoengineers or something, or is this something you're going to
No.
summarize, Megan?
this will be my summary and a discussion to have. So I mentioned this a little bit at our last meeting, but I wanted to give us more time to discuss it than we had before. But as I mentioned at the last meeting, I had Geoengineers, which is a geotechnical engineering company, um, kind of come out and evaluate the dam. I sent them some of our materials and asked what their recommendation was for next steps going forward. And I also had asked them if they could interpretate the GPR data that we had done. And then their recommendation was actually instead of doing a repair like we have been planning, to instead do a rebuild. And they based this decision on the fact that the dam, in their opinion, is in significantly poor condition, requires repairs that would be substantial, and that it'd be very challenging to identify the specific locations requiring repairs associated with animal activities. They also said, in their experience, GPR has shown that it provides varying degrees of reliability, and they're not in favor of heavy reliance on those results. So, overall, the inherent uncertainties and risks associated with the repair do not align with what they're comfortable taking on. They also think that the effort, challenges, and costs associated with the repair could be substantial, even in comparison to the rebuild. It may not be an effective path forward. And so, yeah, I just wanted the commission to have time to process that and ask questions and discuss what our path going forward will be. And before I open it up, I also just wanted to mention that I did confirm with Sumco that they're still committed to providing the contracted repair work to fill the voids and tunnels that are visible in the field on the dam, but they're just not in a professional position to provide expertise and interpretate the GPR findings beyond what their subcontractor already presented to the commission previously. So it seems like we would be able to make like that temporary repair, that maintenance repair of the holes and voids that we can see in the field, but long term, this geotechnical engineer is recommending that we do a rebuild rather than a repair.
So Megan, it seems to me that we're on a trajectory to significantly repair the dam using the phase one Stamsky and McNary WPP, the fifth edition, right? The fifth edition, which is approved by ODS. And the roadblock to undertaking that work was the Beaver Lodge, which is now gone, and the amount of water in the pond, which is also now gone. So if we think about the sort of trajectory we were on to go ahead, fix the dam, put in the TRM, the turf reinforcement mat, get it seeded, get native grasses growing on the upstream bank and all that. The other, there's nothing really in our way to issuing an RFP and getting that job done. The emergency repairs were intended to make sure the dam didn't breach before we got to the big repair job because we were concerned about all the holes. But Sumco did all this fancy GPR stuff, gave us a big tutorial on GPR, but then it's not actionable somehow. And it seems like kind of and nobody else wants to trust it. So that seems kind of like, how should we say,
the dead end.
A little dead end, yeah, the twig here that we took, which is sort of unfortunate, but that doesn't get us, it doesn't advance our repairs. So what I'd like to understand is why can't we just get an RFP issued and get on with our phase one approved project?
Yeah, so you mentioned the roadblocks being the Beaver Dam, the water level. The third roadblock that I haven't been able to get by is that according to the ODS permit, you need a dam engineer on site during the work to coordinate between ODS and the contractors.
Mhm.
And that's the roadblock I can't get over because Stamsky and McNary can't provide that dam engineering services, and they're the ones who designed the plan. So we
So
can't find another dam engineer.
Stamsky's charged us for 5 revisions of a WPP, which is the engineering drawing for dam. So they were clearly serving as a dam engineer. And according to Massachusetts law, which I did look up, there is no special certification for dam engineer. There is certified professional engineer, which Dan Carr is, and so stamped on the drawings. And the firm needs to have had some kind of dam expertise in the past or done some work on dams in the past. And they have done work in dams in the past, but there's no such thing as dam engineer as a certification. So I don't understand why Stamsky, which has charged us for 5 revisions of the WPP and has served as our certified professional engineer and so stamped the plans as, certified dam, a certified engineer, professional engineer, why they are suddenly bailing on us and refusing to oversee the construction. And that's why at our last meeting, I requested that we have a meeting with Stamsky to get to the bottom of that. And which is the other reason I asked you for an accounting of the, what we've paid to Stamsky in 5 different revisions over the course of like 3 years on this project.
I guess
Um,
I have one question before we go on. The ODS said dam engineer. I don't know what that means. It sounds like that's a vague term. Can we get ODS to define the qualifications to be a dam engineer?
There is
So
no
I
such
believe
license in
it's
Massachusetts.
so I'm pretty sure dam engineer is a geotechnical engineer.
No, it's not. According to Massachusetts law, you need to be a professional engineer and have some experience with dams. And I would guess that Stamsky and McNary has got some experience in their life with dams. There's no special certification for dam engineer.
Okay, I see your point. I think the issue is though that they have said themselves that they're not comfortable providing that expertise.
When did Stamsky and McNary tell you that they were perfectly comfortable designing a dam, submitting a dam engineering plan to ODS and getting it approved, but they're not willing to stand behind their own design and manage, oversee the construction? To me, that's just kind of unconscionable.
Yeah, I agree that it's definitely frustrating. I can imagine, especially I'm newer to this, but I can imagine for commissioners that have put in a few years trying to deal with this problem to put in all that work and then now being told that
It's
they're not
worse
going to
than
provide that service.
it's worse than the time that we've spent.
Yeah.
It's the money that we've spent with Stamsky McNary for engineering services to design a dam. They designed, in fact, a dam for the full phase 1 and 2, which included a very elaborate spillway, a whole drainage system, like a really complicated bunch of things. Very elaborate. And we're just asking them to oversee the phase 1 repairs. I mean, which is trivial from an engineering perspective compared to what the full WPP was if we proceed to phase 2. So, I just really have a hard time understanding how they're capable of doing the stamped engineering drawings and standing behind those. But then when it comes to constructing, like, no, we can't oversee that design. We don't have anything to do with that design. That's ridiculous.
Is it they that can't oversee it, or
when did they tell you this?
Or
Yeah,
is
when
it,
did-
or
when
is
did
it the Office of Dam Safety that says they can't do it?
Stamsky and McNary told me that they couldn't do it.
Ah,
We'd like to know why not.
Can we
Why?
get
Because they don't have the
ODS?
I
Because
think
they
would
don't
it
have the expertise. That
But
is what
then
they've
they
told
would
me
it
didn't
on
would
have
it
the
several
make sense?
expertise to
occasions.
design it in the first place.
So if we can't, if they're not going to do it, they're not going to do it. We can't force them to.
Yeah,
And
but I think we should ask for our money back. If they, I think it's appalling. They charge us for engineering drawings that they won't stand behind.
I think that's a worthwhile thing to do. And I think we should figure out what we're going to do with the dam now, and then as a parallel, separate work stream, ask them to come to a meeting and
Why?
explain all
Yeah,
of this. But it's a separate work stream, right? Because
but why can't
we're not
they?
going to force them to do it.
Actually, I think we should ask them to please hire someone that could oversee this. Even if they hire a subcontractor, to oversee, I think they owe us.
I would also have ODS recommend dam
You don't need
engineers to
ODS
use.
involved. No, the ODS is
So,
not,
but
ODS has not said anything to us around, oh, you need to do something different. This is Stamsky coming to us after designing the dam, after designing 5 iterations of the design,
Yes, Melissa, we
saying, oh,
understand.
but we can't help you going forward.
so
I'd like to understand why not, and what can you do? What could they do maybe to be able to help us?
I think it's fair to want to troubleshoot with them and want to figure out how we got here. But I will say I tried to do some troubleshooting before, and Stamsky said that they would try to subcontract out someone who could fill in as the dam engineer on the permit.
Good. Great. That would be great.
But let me finish. So Weston and Sampson was one of the prospects. Weston and Sampson told me that they would never do that because they're not going to get on another engineered design
So you're
that
saying
they didn't design.
construction
They don't.
firm.
An engineer typically won't back a design that they didn't create, right? It's
okay.
unethical in their field.
Ah.
And additionally, I checked in with ODS and asked if they would accept a dam engineer that didn't a subcontracted dam engineer, and they said that they would not, but that they would try to work with me to figure it out. So it's kind of problematic. I don't really know if there's a way to fix it with the plan we have. I can't really find a way to go forward with it based on the hurdles that I've been encountering. I feel like I've tried all these different avenues. So as discouraging and horrible as that is to say, that's just what I've experienced objectively. And I feel bad having to say that, but that's just what I've experienced with the knowledge that I've gotten since I've been working on this.
So
You
you would be
and I-
talking with town council?
I have not talked to town council, no.
Yeah, I
You and I
think the question of what if anything we can squeeze out of Stamsky and McNary will turn almost entirely on what is in the contract with them and what it says about their obligations and our remedies if they fail to uphold them. It's conceivable that we could, in the absence of being able to get a subcontractor to do it, that in a best case scenario, they'd have to just get someone else to do the whole thing from start to finish. But I really doubt that's what the contract says. But that it'll really just turn on that, which is why, yeah, George, I think if this is a path we want to go down, it might make sense to look at that and to talk to town council about it. But I do think that with the position that we're in, I'm not sure that this is one work stream. It seems like it's 2 different things, and I think we should pursue it. But I'm not sure that it's part of the same work stream as figuring out.
It may not bear fruit. I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm really confused why Stamsky would undertake to give us engineering drawings and design a dam and then come back and say they're not qualified to oversee
too.
the construction of their own design. So
Me too.
that
And that's
sort
a
of
question.
says that Dan Carr was acting in bad faith, or they were misrepresenting Dan Carr's capabilities, or I mean, it just seems the design work is like pretty much, that's where you have to have the chops, no?
I agree, and I think that's why we should get them in front of us at a meeting and ask
Yeah,
exactly that.
let's have a
But I don't
conversation
think
with
that
them.
I think we need to pursue that, but I don't think that and getting this taken care of is necessarily the same work stream because if they
Well,
won't
but you know, one thing Stamsky could do would be hire somebody part-time and then they're not subcontracted. So they could just put them on the payroll as a part-time employee. They don't have to call them a subcontractor.
I don't
And
know
if
if
they're
that,
a
I mean,
part-time
maybe, but I don't
employee,
know if that
then
would
we
work
get
from like
around
an
the
insurance
ODS
perspective
objection.
and stuff.
Well,
Well, I would question ODS and why, if we have a legally a legal design engineer from another outfit, they can't adequately do the work. Why do they require that it has to be the people that did the design?
well, ODS accepted his design. So ODS seems to think that Stamsky is qualified as a damn
Right,
engineering firm.
but can I go to another firm and have them be the damn engineer? And what Megan said is, no, they won't allow you to do that. It has to be on the team that actually did the design.
No, she's not saying that. She's saying that the other engineering firms won't use Stamsky's work, which we already paid for. So I think the shortest path would be for us to have a meeting with Stamsky and say, listen, you guys, you charged us $umpteen thousand for all these, additions. You've been our engineer. Your
Mhm.
plan is stamped professional engineer. It is submitted to ODS on our behalf. It is accepted by ODS. You can't just drop us at this point and say, oh, well, we're splitting hairs. We have some definition where we're, qualified to design, but we're not qualified to oversee construction. I mean, as the engineer, that
Well,
makes no
we
sense.
need to understand their plight and why they won't agree to support us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
especially, and we need to have an accounting of all the thousands of dollars that we've spent. I think we've spent at least seven just for the phase one plans, because I saw two bills approved in what, February, that were like $4,000 and $3,000. I mean, I'm sure there's, considerable spend. So there's something really wrong with this picture. And
So I can do some more digging, and I didn't get a chance to go through and find all the invoices and everything, but I can certainly do that by the next meeting. But I am curious to know separately what the commission thinks about like the idea that even if we get Stamsky to be the dam engineer and we put the RFP out to bid for the repair work. I'm curious what the commission thinks of the idea or the recommendation from this engineer that would basically not be cost effective and a rebuild is a better solution to the problem we have. I'm just curious how
okay,
commissioners feel about that.
before we get to that, Alex had a question. Has ODS told us that Stamsky and McNary is not qualified? And the answer to that is, I don't think they've told us that Stamsky and McNary are not qualified.
No.
No.
I
Okay.
Well,
think
we haven't
I
asked
think
them
what
either.
it probably
We don't need,
is.
I don't think we need to. They accepted Stamsky's stamped engineering drawing. So they seem to think they're qualified.
Don't know.
But
I'll let
I'm concerned that
Stamsky
now we're
speak
going
for
to a third
themselves.
firm, and it seems like we're spending a lot of money. And repairing this is an earthen dam. It was built 120 years ago, and until we took it out of cranberry farming, Mark Duffy maintained it. He fill holes with gravel and dirt and compact it really well. You know, uh, it just this is not rocket science. I just don't see, that I don't, I'm not sure I buy the distinction between repair and significantly rebuild. I know it's in poor condition. It needs to be repaired. Filling holes is part of repairing it. It's rebuilding the whole dam. Is that what they're saying? The entire crest, even where there's no evidence of any holes? Why? Tear the
I
whole thing down
mean,
and put it back up? Why?
I think it's in my opinion, because and I don't know if this was talked about before, if it's always just been a repair, but I think it's worth understanding all the information first before making a decision, like understanding what the cost of a rebuild would look like. Like I can just get it scoped out and figure out what it would actually cost and do a cost analysis between, okay, if we do a rebuild, the dam then lasts for 100 years or whatever it is, versus if we do a repair, it's going to be maybe it's close to the same amount of money as the rebuild, and then you're going to have to do it again in 20 years or 10 years, or it would be, I think, idealistically, if you could compare all your options, and even, no one kill me for saying this, but even looking at what would it cost for no dam versus a rebuild versus a repair, like, right, you just have all your options, and then you can just make a decision on what the town can afford, what's just like the best decision for the commission.
I don't know how other people would define repair versus rebuild. So that needs to be spelled out in, sort of detailed prose. But I mean, I don't have a problem with getting multiple bids. But, we should be now at the
For the
RFP
repair.
stage to conduct phase one. And I feel like this is dragging on.
I think in general, we agree with you, Melissa. The question is, how do we get to the point where we can make an intelligent decision about
Right.
which path to follow? And in general, I not knowing what a rebuild really is, I would say I would go with the repair. And then if we can figure out how to do that, and that's what we're struggling with right now.
Right. I think if we get multiple bids, we can get vendors to tell us what they would do and how much it will cost, and we can make an informed decision that way. But I think I'm not sure I see a clear-cut definition between repairs, significant repairs, rebuild. I don't know what those terms actually mean.
I mean, a rebuild would be it would be informed by the H&H study, and you would determine the height of the crest, what material would be used. It would be informed by a lot of engineering decisions based on the hydrology of the site and other site conditions. Whereas a repair is you have the same earthen dam that's been there for over 100 years, and you just keep filling holes, and that would be a repair. So a redesign, of course, would require more engineering, but it would take into consideration like just a lot of different things. Like the H&H study that we have that's ongoing, that should be done by the end of the summer. That would inform or help inform a rebuild.
Right. And that was the idea for phase two, right? That was the whole plan, was wait for the H&H study and then conduct phase two. Phase one stabilizes the dam. And as you've pointed out, the dam has been there 120 years. The big problem that's been undermining the dam has been all the animal burrows. The turf reinforcement mat stops that problem from happening. So in terms of a repair being robust for some long period of time, there's no reason that, that using the word repair means we're left with a fragile structure. The issue is whether we need additional spillway to deal with, water, hydraulics. That's the question before us for phase two. But for phase one, it's not like we need a complex hydrological study to know that we need to fill the holes and we need to armor the upstream face of the dam, which is the phase one project.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm obviously not a professional in this subject.
I'm not either.
So I usually defer to professionals. So I just think it would be helpful to get insight on it.
I agree with you.
Just because when I was on a site visit with the geotechnical engineers, some of the questions they were asking me and things they were telling me about were just considerations I hadn't had before. Like, for instance, the material of the earthen dam, right? Like, if it's been put there 120 years ago and you just keep repairing with this material, how do you know it's the best material for the site? Is it just going to keep
Yep.
falling into disrepair? Whereas if you do a rebuild with the right materials given the site, maybe you don't have that constant maintenance.
Maybe we should have a site visit with these guys because some of us who have lived here used that bog for 30 years and ridden our horses across the property and so forth. I mean, I've been involved with it a long time, and the repairs that we've had to make are, the maintenance has a lot to do with those burrowing animals. The reason we have instability in the dam right now, or I shouldn't say instability, but porosity for sure. The reason we have sinkholes is burrowing animals, not, wave action. This is not the seashore.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I don't disagree. I'm just gonna point out that I've been trying to get people to repair the dam, and I just feels like everyone I find doesn't want to do it for some reason or another. So that just flags to me that, like,
how many
well,
companies have we talked to that don't want to
I
repair
mean,
it?
the Stamsky can't provide the services.
No,
Geo,
but we haven't put it out for a bid. I mean, what if we were to put out phase one for an RFP? I thought that was our plan, actually. Put it out to bid and see what people say.
yes, but I don't know if it's right to put it out to bid if we don't have someone to oversee the work that's required under the permit. I don't know. I'd have to
Why
check
can't
with
they provide the oversight engineer?
who?
The bidders. Why can't we put this out to bid and see what the cat drags in?
Put Stamsky's design out to bid?
Yeah. The
I
approved
mean,
ODS approved, WPP. And
yeah,
say,
then
"We
you
want to
just
get
get the
this done."
contractors. You get
What's
the
that?
contractors who,
They don't necessarily have
yeah,
engineers.
But
yeah.
they might be able, some might.
They might
That
be
would
able
be
to
a whole
hire
other
one.
service. And then again,
Right, they
you
might be
fall
able to hire
into
one.
an engineer backing a plan that's not theirs.
But let them decide if they want to support it or not. Why don't we put it out for bid and see what happens?
It's probably not their decision. It may be their insurance company that is the backup. I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say that about them, like using someone as a part-time employee. There are other considerations that go into this on their end, whether they want to do it or not.
But surely this is not, I mean, this is an earthen dam. This is not a high-risk dam. There's no, highway bridge involved. There's no loss of life potential. I mean, it's a farm dam, this is not a high-tech problem.
But I mean, if they won't do it, they won't do it. I
I
mean,
know, but
it
who's
doesn't
they?
really matter.
Who have we talked to?
Stamsey and McNary. No, we
That's
need
it.
to.
They designed it for us, and they're not
Right.
willing to, I mean, that's why I think we need to have a conversation
But
with Dan.
that's my point as if we have to abandon like the only way to get
Can't we have
other
a conversation, please, with Stamsky before we all buy into the idea that we have to abandon them? We paid them thousands of dollars. Let's get our accounting together. Let's have a meeting with them, and let's see whether we can change their mind about being our.
Or can we put this out to bid to firms that will use Dempsey and McNary's design and
Yeah.
actually do the repairs with the dam engineers provided by them?
I
First thing to do.
just don't believe that that's going to work. You're not going to be able to find an engineer to back a plan that isn't theirs.
If they look at the plan and they think it's perfectly okay, they may.
That's what
Or
I
if they-
asked this. That's what I asked this engineering company to do, and they
Yeah, I think that's
Said
would
probably
not do
that's
that.
probably
Yeah.
like
I asked two
liability management
companies.
thing.
So
Yeah,
does
that's
this
probably a
engineering
liability
company,
management
did
thing.
this engineering company did they look at the WPP that ODS had approved?
Yes.
What did they say about it?
Well, what I originally asked was for them to review it and let me know if they could back it or not. And then they said that they wouldn't even back a repair of this dam in general because it's in such significantly poor condition that they don't feel comfortable providing engineering services for a repair when, in their opinion, it deserves a rebuild.
So what is their definition of rebuild? What actually happens in the rebuild?
You design from scratch. You
No,
don't design based
I'm
on
not talking about design from scratch. What happens in a rebuild versus a repair in terms of construction?
I'm not completely sure myself. I don't know what you mean by the construction.
Megan, you had it right.
Like,
we have a design for a repair. If we're going to do a rebuild, then we have to get additional design work to design what a rebuilt dam's going to look like.
But I'd like to know, like, just in English, what do they mean by rebuild versus repair? I just like to have how do we get informed? Do we need to have a meeting with them? What do you think?
I mean, I can ask them for more specification, but my understanding is a rebuild, you start from complete scratch. A
New land.
repair is building on the existing
So when you say you
infrastructure.
start from scratch, does that mean you go in with like earth moving equipment and like erase the current dam?
Maybe.
Possibly if the
The whole
materials
thing?
aren't sufficient, but that
Hundreds
would
of
be,
feet?
but Melissa, I think the key is that a rebuild would analyze all that. So they would analyze the current dam and then come up with a design based on that.
This doesn't make sense to me, Megan, that there's holes in a few places, but there's not holes in the entire dam.
I don't
It doesn't,
know
you know,
if
honestly,
that's true.
it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter. They're engineers, and if they won't do it, they won't do it. We can't, it doesn't matter whether it makes sense to any of us. First of all, none of us are engineers. But even if we were, we can't force them to do something they're not going to do. It just doesn't matter.
So the notion that Stamsky McNary would waste our money and our time designing 5 iterations of engineering drawings, charge us all that money, and then say, "Oh, but we don't want to have anything to do with this." To me, that's just like this.
Understood.
The most
Understood.
egregious.
Speaking
Then
of
you go
time,
and
I think
sue
let's.
them.
Yeah, right. I mean, I completely agree, but
Right,
short
let's talk
short
to
of
them.
bringing a
I'd
lawsuit
like to have a
against them,
meeting.
okay, but that doesn't solve this issue,
No, I
right?
know, but can we please have a meeting with them? Can we
Yeah,
ask
I
them to
agree.
please?
I agree. And let's try to, yeah.
I can ask them if that's what the commission agrees that they want, then I can certainly ask them.
Well, I certainly think before we let them off the hook, we should have a conversation.
Yeah, but I think we need to know our legal options.
Yeah.
If they back away, is there anything the town can do? I don't know
I don't
the
know,
answer.
but I just think that they've
I understand. But
had no
we need
intention of ever, seeing the project through in any way. Why would they waste our time and our money with drawings that they have no desire, no intention of helping to realize? To me, that's just like the most egregious default on your fiduciary responsibility to your
I
client.
understand, Melissa, but we can't solve that right now. We can start the process of trying to understand what their stance is and maybe argue it or litigate it or whatever else we need, but we don't have enough information for this committee to make a decision.
I do think we should go talk to other firms that are willing to do repairs and not go in and say, well, the way to, fix the half a dozen burrows through the dam is to dismantle the entire dam. To me, that's like,
no, that's not
I
what
don't
the
think
design
so.
said. We're talking about repairs, and there are specific repairs that make sense. And I don't know Sampson and McNary's assessment with the GPR stuff. Do we even know where all the holes
Well,
are?
they didn't do the GPR. Sumco did.
That
And
was
they charged us a
Sumco.
lot of money for apparently radar findings that are not even nobody else wants to ever use and that they can't even interpret, which is their own subcontractor, which is another just unconscionable.
Yeah, that's another issue.
Their own
I think,
subcontractor, and they say,
well,
well, but it's interesting information, but we can't really act on it. Like, why did they tell us that we
we
should
were a little
pay
naive
them for
going into
this?
this, and we should have had a better handle on the contract that we negotiated.
Right. And my concern is this third firm is saying, oh, well, our idea is, we'll just dismantle the whole dam and start over. I mean, like, no. Come on. This is just
No,
this is way out of
that's
hand here.
Melissa, that's a totally different thing. That's where you start from scratch. So right now, we're talking about how do we get the dam repaired so that it's stable, and then
Maybe,
we can look into assessment of whether or not we need
all
to
right.
rebuild.
Can we
I
put it back into
suggest-
farming and then have Mark? Can we put it back into farming and then Mark can just fix it?
Let's not go there. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
If that's the
Okay.
simplest path, why not?
He doesn't want to do cranberries anymore.
No, but we doesn't have to do cranberries. We could do some other kind of farming.
We'll give him a call, see what he says.
Doesn't have to be Mark. I mean, just saying, it's an
Melissa,
agricultural term.
we're getting off on the sidetrack here. Megan, you had a comment you wanted to put in?
I was just gonna mention kind of 3 action item type things that I'm getting from this or wanna finalize. So I will reach out to Stamsky and McNary and try to see if they're available for our next meeting. I will also look through all of our invoices and past expenses and compile that for you. So that's one thing. Second is it sounds like you're all comfortable with me just reaching out to other firms and consultants to see if I can get quotes or opinions or recommendations on what we should do. If it's a repair, great. If it's not, that's what they find and I'll present it. So I'll reach out to other consultants. That's the
Okay.
second.
Yeah.
And then my third is a question, which would be, I mentioned that Sumco is still willing to repair the visual burrows and holes on the dam. Is that something you're all interested in me giving the okay for them to do in the short term, just to kind of stabilize the dam in the meantime while we figure out if we are going to do this phase 1 repair, if we're going to do a rebuild?
Can we get a cost estimate for them to do so?
That's
And
already in our contract.
so they would do that. I just
So
wonder
that's what
whether or
we-
not DPW would step up and do it.
I asked DPW at the very beginning before I reached out to Sumco, and they're not able to do the.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Enough said there.
So we have a contract already. We could action with Sumco. They could make the emergency repairs.
Yes.
And would those repairs include filling all the burrows that were detectable with the radar that their subcontractor discovered?
No, it would be the visual, the ones you
Well-
can visually see.
So why did they waste our time with the ground penetrating radar if they're not going to use any of that data?
I feel like we went over this the last meeting, but I'll try to concisely summarize again. We were recommended to get GPR work by Weston and Sampson a while ago because we couldn't see all the holes on the dam and there was more popping up. That was recommended to us, and we were told that in theory that would inform the repairs that we would have to make. I asked Sumco specifically for GPR work and filling of burrows. They did the GPR work and they gave us their analysis through their subcontractor. The problem is that typically when GPR work is done on a dam like this, and you're making a decision about which holes you're going to fill to prevent a dam breach and which ones you're not, you would have a dam engineer who would help interpret, bridge the gap between the GPR and the contractor. we don't have a dam engineer. Sumco, they are not this dam engineer that we keep speaking of. So we don't have that person to fill the gap. So Sumco is not comfortable with having the liability of saying, yeah, if we fill these holes, your dam won't breach. So now, again, we're missing that bridge. And so they're only okay with filling in the holes that we can visually see, that they're directed to fill.
So they subcontracted the GPR person.
Yes.
Did they tell us or tell you when you requested GPR services, did they tell you that sure, we'd be happy to contract that for you, but by the way, we won't be using those GPR results for doing any emergency repairs? Did they tell you that?
No, they didn't say they weren't comfortable with it.
And they
I
didn't
think it
say they
just
wouldn't be using that data and couldn't interpret it, in fact. They didn't
they
tell you?
did not say that. No.
Ah,
This is interesting. This is all geophysics. A lot of people
yeah.
use ground penetrating radar for various things, and finding holes is actually one of the easiest things to do. Maybe we don't need a specific dam engineer if we can get somebody who can interpret the data that's already exists. I don't know if we can get our hands on that data. I bet I have
Yeah,
people in
I
my
have all
company
the
that probably
data.
can. Okay.
I have all the
Yeah.
data, and the one firm I send it to, Geotech, they said that they don't rely on GPR data, but it could be the case that I send it to 3 other engineering
Somebody who
consultants,
said,
and two
yeah.
of them say, oh, with this, I don't know, right? Like it could be that it's not useful to any of them, or it could be it's useful to some of them. I just don't know yet. All I know is Sumco isn't comfortable interpreting it for us.
What about Weston Sampson, which told you to go get the GPR data? Since they're the ones that said we should spend money on this, how comfortable are they using GPR data? I would assume they
I
feel
they
hunky-dory about it, right? It's their
they
idea.
are comfortable using it, and I actually asked if they would provide the service of interpreting the data for us. And they said that they don't provide that specific service. Like if they're designing a dam, that's included in their service. They have GPR, and then their dam engineer interprets it, they make a plan, that type of thing. But they're not able to be contracted out specifically for that one service.
Well, yeah, but is Weston and Sampson okay using the GPR data that they suggested we pay for to make the repairs for them to make the repairs? Will they make the repairs? They certainly have, engineering services for dams on staff.
If we gave them the GPR data and said, can you help us
Can you make these
design a
repairs?
dam repair?
Yeah.
They might be, I'm
Yes.
not going to speak for them, they might be able to.
That may be,
But
yeah, let's ask them. Maybe that might work. What about that? They're the ones that came and did, the dam inspection, I don't know, umpteen years ago, too long ago, right? And
2015.
that's Weston, right? And they
Yep.
said you need to make these 4 simple repairs. And ODS, that's basically the phase 1 project. And ODS said, when they sent Carlisle a letter, they said, and by the way, you need to make these 4 simple repairs. That's the phase 1 project. So Weston and Sampson, the project as scoped and approved by ODS is Weston and Sampson's recommendation from years ago. So if they can use the GPR data they told you to go get and make those 4 simple repairs, wouldn't that be the quickest thing? Because they certainly have a big dam engineering staff.
yes, but they would have to they'd have to do the design in place of what Stamsky has done.
So maybe if we can get Stamsky to refund, since they won't stand behind their dam, their engineering drawing, and we can apply that money to Weston.
Well, that's
We
a
can do
big
the
if.
2 in parallel.
That's a big if.
We could do the 2
Um,
in parallel because what we've learned is that unless Stamsky steps up, all the work that we spent, all the money we've paid to Skamsky is money down the drain. We have to repeat that whole effort now.
Well, all they were going to do was a visual repair right now,
No, I'm talking about phase
ignoring the
one.
GPR.
I'm talking about why can't Weston and Sampson bid on phase one repairs using the GPR data that they told us to go get?
They're not going to bid on a repair for something they didn't design. They would have to
Well,
redesign
I
the
understand that
repair.
we're going to have to pay, if Stamsky won't be our dam engineer, so to speak, our supervising engineer
Oh,
for the
that
dam,
damn engineer.
we're going to have to pay another firm and go through the design process and the ODS submission and the ODS approval
Yes.
again. I get it. So we want to go with a firm that's going to manage the whole project rather than us be in the middle between warring parties that don't want to work together. So why don't we go to Weston and Sampson, which has all the capabilities that they need, and ask them if they'll use the GPR data? I guess we could learn that, oh, they won't use somebody else's GPR data. We'll have to pay for that again too. I don't know. But, why don't we go to a firm that can do the whole project?
Well, we thought we did.
I agree, and that's why my point was if we're gonna have to restart anyways, I think it's worth understanding the costs of what, like if we contact Weston and Sampson and ask what would a repair cost. I think it's also worth asking what a quote unquote rebuild would cost,
No,
or
I
just their
don't think so.
recommendation, just
No,
their recommendation on what they would do
I
with the
would,
dam
no,
based
I
on the
would have
GPR
Weston and
data.
Sampson come over, look at the dam, show them the WP from Stamsky and ask them, is this something you can do for us? And let them, don't coach them about a rebuild versus a repair. Just say, we know it's in poor condition. We have this WP from Stamsky. They don't seem to want to provide the engineering services. Can you do this for us? What's it going to cost? Don't coach them.
And offer up the GPR data.
Yeah.
If they can use it, if they
They
can use
asked for it. They seem to want to be able to use it.
it. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I can certainly do that, but I will do that actually. But do we want Sumco to do our emergency/maintenance repairs in the meantime for the
I don't see
visual
what that
tunnels and
buys
holes?
us. What does that buy us?
It's a partial repair.
Yeah, but
I mean, if we're gonna go through all of the permitting and everything again, say that's what happens, I mean, any repair is gonna be, I assume, pretty far down the road. So it's just a matter of if you want to do some maintenance repairs in the meantime.
well, I don't see why the repair has to be down the road. I mean, what Weston and
If,
Sampson could come out on site, look at the dam, look at Stamsky's WPP, probably get this the engineering files from Stamsky if they want, and submit to ODS. A couple of months, we could be repairing it in, July, August. Why not?
Well,
they
they've
have to
already
make their own
offered to.
plan.
Yeah, but their own plan is going to be, when you look at what's on the plan, I mean, it's basically topographical and measurements.
But they're not going to use Stamsky's plan. They're going to curate their own.
Yeah, I
And
get
I
it.
don't know what their process is, how much they have to analyze the site. You have to get the ODS permit and the WPA permit. Like that takes months and months and months.
Well, it took us a couple of months to get it through ODS too.
So we
But
need
their
a
design
plan.
likely would be different than.
Guys.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. I will ask them if they can help us.
I think we need to talk to ODS about this. No, I think we need to talk to Stamsky about this. This is the shortest path is Stamsky does hire somebody part-time, even if it's like 1 hour a week, and, makes us whole.
I don't think they're going to do that, but
Yeah,
you
Because
can
they
try.
And
All right.
I don't want to keep belaboring this question, but I'm just trying to get some kind of definitive answer or that you'll decide at the next meeting or something. Because
so
we
you're
have a
gonna-
contract with Sumco for them to do the repairs on the dam. And right now they're kind of just waiting for me to tell them if we want them to do the repairs or not. So
But we need a cost estimate for that, right?
no,
Yeah.
we already have a contract with Sumco.
What, to redo do the repairs that are visibly a problem?
Exactly.
And what's that cost number?
I have to
Okay, all right. But we have it in hand. Is that within our budget? And is the schedule going to be such that we could get this done in a couple of months if we
yeah,
get approval from ODS?
so their work is already, we don't need additional approval from ODS for Sumco's work. It's considered a dam maintenance because you're
Okay,
just filling in the holes. You're not
got
doing
it.
grading and stuff like that. So we already have a contract with them to do the visual holes. It's just a matter of if we want them to do it or not.
Right now,
And it's
that's
okay
what
if you can't decide right now, but
I don't know what to do about it. I really don't. What's the risk? I mean, right now the pond is draining. We have nothing in it.
yeah.
So if we make the repairs, could we raise the water levels so we don't have a huge, huge invasives problem about starting about 2 months from now?
I think you'd have, I think you'd be safer too than it is now. Yeah, I think if you plugged some of the visual holes and burrows you can see, it
Some of
might
or
be
all of?
okay. I mean, all of them, yeah. The ones you can see.
Right. So the upside for doing it is we can maintain the property while we figure out what on earth to do.
Exactly.
If we don't make the repairs, we got to leave it right as it is, which is like, no water in there, which means we're going to have all sorts of stuff growing there. Like 2 months from now, we're going to have a forest of invasives there. I mean,
Correct.
stuff, right?
Correct.
The other risk is
Yeah.
if we say, you know what, Sumco, we don't want you to do the repairs, like, and then we pay them everything they've already done and they walk away. Then if in a couple months we're like, oh geez, there's a bunch of sinkholes that have popped up and we need someone to repair it, we have to go through the whole procurement process again to find someone to do it. So I feel like if we already have them on board, if you want to put a little bit of a band-aid on the dam, just in the
Do
short term.
it.
Yeah. All right. So you think we
I,
should do it, don't you?
um, I think.
Yeah, I kind of
It's
agree with you.
okay to say yes.
I agree with you. I think
Progress.
we should.
Yes, I
All
think we
right.
should do it too.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, one more
I'm on board
thing.
with that.
One thing is if you start adding a little bit of water, so there's a little bit of a pond, you're going to have to start doing the sort of the review to make sure there isn't going to be a beaver lodge under construction.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that go out there. It'll happen, but they're going to know about it.
Are you allowed to remove sticks if they're trying to build a lodge but haven't
So
built
I
a
would
lodge
say
yet?
so. It's got to be a
Yes,
lived-in
yeah.
lodge.
Okay, good.
Preventative measures are allowed.
Now I can see what I'm going to do, spend my summer on.
Bring a
Hey.
rake.
Oh, gosh. All right. So what we've agreed, we're going to do the Sumco repairs. We're going to do, and then we're going to ask Dan Carr to join us next week.
Yeah, so I'll give Sumco the go ahead if that's what you want. I'll get Stamsky to attend a meeting with us, I'll see if they're available for the next one. I'll find all the invoices and history and try to organize it for you all so you can see it.
Thank you.
And then I'll also just keep reaching out to different consultants, Weston and Sampson included, and some others based on my research, and see if we can get them to do a phase one repair, or, what their recommendation is for us going forward based on our GPR data and things like that.
There's another dam company, competes with Weston that did the dam in, I forget if it was Lancaster, or it was when we were discussing TRMs, turf reinforcement mats. They had done that other dam and gotten it approved through ODS. I'll look through my notes and see who they are, but they were very well known, and it's a firm Dan knows. very well. He said, "Oh yeah, I know who they are."
Okay.
They were well respected. They would be good for us to reach out to too.
Okay.
And I really think we should avoid shooting ourselves in the foot by, you know, leading the witness on repair versus rebuild or something. We don't have an
I agree.
unlimited budget to tear the whole thing apart and then start over. I mean, we do have boroughs in certain places, but we don't have the whole, 600 feet or something of dam is not all full of holes. So
I agree. And I think what I'll probably end up doing is just not guiding them on I'll just ask for their recommendation. You know, we have this
Yeah.
dam that has all these holes. This is our GPR data. What do you recommend we do? No, I won't even say repair or rebuild.
yeah,
And
just
then
get
we
it
can
on
get
site
their
and say
opinion.
it's in poor condition. We need to get it
Yeah.
back. We need to fix it.
Mhm.
We have a WPP that was approved. We'd like to move on it. Is this something you could build for us?
Mhm.
Period. Don't lead the witness. Show them the WPP. Bring them on site. Maybe bring them on site after Sumco does the emergency repairs, so they aren't scared. You know, and
Oh,
and you can
can
share the GPR data with them too, and just say, can you do this? Don't lead the
yeah.
witness. Just let them, let them think about it.
I think that's a good idea. And can I possibly end this conversation on a positive note?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is positive.
Okay. So, Sarah and I applied for the grant technical dam owners technical assistance program to get our dam inspections partially funded. And we were able to get the grant funding or grant assistantship for the Curve Street Dam. So initially, the quote we had for inspection of the Curve Street Dam and Dam number 1 was around $14,000. So now we'll have the Curve Street one covered by a consultant from the state. They'll inspect it for free. So that saves us about $7,000. So I
Good
don't
job.
know
Hooray.
how they
Good
picked
job.
us, but we got lucky. So that's the positive spin on
That's
the
very
dam
nice.
conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. And please don't take my heated comments as directed at any way towards you.
No, I totally understand. I
Good.
totally understand. I don't feel that way at all. You're
I think
good.
they're directed at a
Another,
certain firm. Yeah.
Time
And I
is
think
the
that will become
enemy.
very clear when we have a meeting with them, which
yeah,
I'm
I'm looking forward to having conversation. I'll try to hold, I'll
as
be
am I.
good.
Time is the enemy of earthen dams. And when this started, it was several years ago.
Yeah.
And let's just say a lot of water's gone over the dam since.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well,
Couldn't
hopefully we can
resist
find a
that.
way to get it moving.
Sorry
Oh,
about that.
is there some way we can absolve? Well, maybe we don't want to. I'm just worried about I was just thinking if liability is the big problem, maybe there's a way of, I don't know, insuring it or, I don't know, waiving something,
Indemnifying them. I
indemnifying
doubt
them
that we
so
want
that
to do
we
that,
remove
though.
this problem and can get moving.
Let's move on.
All right.
Here. All right. Item 12, Conservation Restriction Advisory Committee. Crack otherwise. Charter revision. Hopefully everybody had a chance to read that. What did I do with my copy?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I was involved in the conversations.
Well, okay. I just
There was a bit of a mismatch in the number of people. Originally, it's supposed to be 7. Somehow the word 8 got in there, so they wanted to fix it back to 7. I guess they're not on. And on top of that, they wanted to be able to provide a way of getting an alternative if, for example, the planning board or the trails committee or CONSCOM couldn't find an active member, they could hire someone from the public with some background in those boards. And they've got that covered. That was pretty much the focus of the changes, I think, I'm pretty sure. So they decided to do the same study, the sort of the land stewardship. CRAC is a standalone committee. It's not under the Conservation Commission.
Right.
And they've been a committee focused on conservation restrictions in Carlisle for about 30 years. First, if I understand, we're the first in the state to do that.
So what I'm hearing is that the commissioners that are present right now are basically in favor of the revision that we've been presented. Is that true?
I guess so.
I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I've been going to their meetings since 1998.
I was going to say, since you were 12, you mean?
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
all right. Can I get a motion to recommend that the Conservation Commission agrees with the revamped charter?
I just remember there was one other change they made. Each member was for 1 year, and they've got 3 years now, terms of
they're staggered, in other words.
staggered,
Yes.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's in the new version, so I
Yes,
think
yeah.
we agree with that.
Yes.
So can I get a motion to recommend acceptance of the current version?
So moved.
Second.
Sylvia, yeah, Nick, thank you very much. We'll take a short roll call vote, seeing we only have 4 people left. Nick,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The motion passes. Thank you.
And Nick actually has a CR on his property.
He does, with somewhat ambiguous boundaries or maps
Yes.
depicting it different ways. Yes.
Disappears into Pool Swamp.
Does.
I mean Spencer Brook Swamp.
Discussion with the Conservation Commission's participation in the 2026 Route to Sustainability Day. So maybe I rashly said, "Oh, we'll take a table on the ESC's Sustainability Day." And then last year, Melissa and I did the wetlands bylaw and tried to explain from our standpoint the rationale and so on. And I must admit, there wasn't a lot of interest, unfortunately. I think we talked to maybe 5 small groups of people.
Yeah.
So the question is, for this year, do commissioners have a specific topic that maybe we could be a little more effective? What's of interest right now? You know, for example, woodlands. Woodwards is certainly one topic that we could talk about. Anybody have any recommendations?
I'd like to suggest the wetland bylaw again. Bring it back up in public view again. That's my
Well,
personal feel.
we could also talk about the Cranberry Bog Dam situation.
Oh, please.
You could do vernal pools, which kind of tie into the bylaw.
That's a cool idea.
And
Educational.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good.
vernal pools have the ability to intrigue people. I'm not going to volunteer Dan. He's not here for anything. I'm not saying he should be there, but I'm sure if you had questions about like what material, me and Noel would be happy to help you produce materials. And I know Dan has a lot more knowledge than I do on that. So he'd also probably be a good person if you had questions or things like that. But I think it would tie into the bylaw a little since that's part of the bylaw protecting vernal pools.
Yeah.
I think
That
that's a good
idea.
recommendation because there's been a lot of upset committees and boards that are worried about having vernal pools on their property and what's the impact and how do I know and all that type of issues, things that hit people directly. So I would agree that that's a great
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah, and it's the upside of vernal pools rather than the
There you go.
regulatory, right?
Right.
It's like how to go look at them and what can you find there and
Yeah.
where should you go look?
I mean, if the bylaw wants to protect them, you have to show people why, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I love that idea.
I do too. All right. So I guess I have a marching order here to develop a presentation for the Sustainability Day to discuss vernal pools and its impact on Carlisle and people and the fauna and etc. And I will try to reach out to Dan. And sounds like Megan, you might have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, let Noelle and I know. Actually, Noelle this week just went through the certified vernal pool cabinet and scanned in a bunch of stuff, maps
Oh,
and different
good.
things of the certified pools in town. So we have that information. We can email it over, whatever you need. So just let us know.
Okay, well, collect what you can and send it my way, and I will volunteer to try to put something together.
Was that the
Sounds
list
good.
I showed you?
Yeah, and the list in that bottom filing drawer of all the pools
Yeah.
in town. Yeah.
What I don't know is whether it's up to date, because that was Mary's job, managing that little job, and then she, of course, left, and then I left.
Mhm.
So you could check it against Natural Heritage.
Got it. Will do.
Great.
So I think do we need to take a vote to say the topic will be vernal pools?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. All right. Moving on to item 15, vote to approve minutes. And then this is when we turn to Sylvia and say, what do you think? I know who reads them religiously.
Yeah, I've been reading them for over 25 years. So can't seem to turn it off. I didn't find any errors on the March 12th. On March 26th, I found what I thought was an error, but I was so deep into a fever that I missed that it was already there. The error that I found wasn't an error; it was already there. So
okay, good.
Send it off to Megan. Oh well.
All right.
No
So can I
worries,
get a
that's good.
motion to approve the minutes for March 12th and March 26th?
So moved.
Melissa, second, please.
Second.
Sylvia. We'll take a roll call vote. Sylvia?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion passes. Thank you.
For those of you who tend not to read the minutes, be aware they're great prep for the next meeting.
That was the sales pitch. Okay,
Yep.
good. All right, number 16 was an LSC update. And who was going to present that? Megan. Brian's not here.
I don't know. It's up to you guys. Yeah, they just asked at least one commissioner to attend to summarize or highlight kind of the most significant revisions. So if anyone's willing to do that, I can also send an email. Maybe people who aren't here would be willing to.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, I'll send an email. Why don't I do that? I'll send an email I'll try to do it tomorrow and ask if
Requesting
commissioners
volunteers.
are willing to volunteer. If no one is, I can do it. But I would prefer if a commissioner could, but I can also do it if everyone's busy.
It's hard to volunteer someone who's not here right now, but
Yeah.
wouldn't Navneet be
She'd be perfect.
perfect, right?
Not that Megan wouldn't do a wonderful job, but
She can have it.
Yeah.
I think that would
Melissa,
be
I
good.
disagree. I don't believe it's hard to volunteer someone who's not here right now. I would say the exact opposite.
Just
Well,
we were hoping you were going to leave by now, and then we'd nominate you. Oh, then we wouldn't have a quorum. Never mind.
let's ask Navneet if she can do it.
Okay.
And if not, I'm sure we can get somebody to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
Maybe considering her profession, she's got what I got.
She might be able to make it.
All
All right, I'll send an email out.
And so the LSE vacancies were posted. What's the due date for that?
April 15th.
That's what it says right here.
Yep.
So should we review what we learned on April 15th at the next meeting?
Yeah, depending, whoever we get, we can review it at the next meeting. And I don't remember if I think I might have sent an email about this, but just so you all know, the 3 remaining LSC members, their terms are up at the end of FY26, which is June 30th. So they would have to reapply for their positions
Oh boy.
July 1st
reapply?
anyways. So we just decided to do all 7 vacancies at once. So they're just gonna reapply if they're interested
Okay.
right now.
Do we know if they're gonna, do you have any
I-
sense of whether they're going to do that?
Yes, I believe so. That's my
Excellent.
impression. I know, yeah.
Have we received any interested
Candidates?
nominations yet? You know,
So
candidates?
they go to Gretchen.
Yeah.
So I haven't like when someone fills out the form online through the website, it doesn't go to me. So I actually don't know yet. So I don't think she sends it out until the deadline. And then she'll give us all the applicants, and then from there we can try to fill the vacancies.
Okay. Our next meeting, I guess we'll learn about that then.
Yeah.
All right, we'll table it till next meeting. So item 17, CPC update. Who has that?
That would be me. Please don't take any more meeting time with that.
Oh, okay. All right, 2 more items. DPW renovation committee update.
And I
Melissa?
sent an email in, so it's all there. But
Yes, I
we're
saw it. I read
replacing
it.
the building.
Yeah.
And it's going to be not a renovation, but a replacement of the existing big building. It's the large building opposite the sand storage shed, which was originally a horse indoor arena. So it wasn't exactly, it was converted in 1980 from a horse arena. And there's no way they can renovate. So there was a feasibility study in February 2025 that said, replace it, don't renovate it. There's the RFP is out. Our committee's, already signed off on an RFP. We should be getting the bids in next week.
Oh, good.
And there will be just the most important thing, I guess, is that there will be a warrant for the annual town meeting on May 18th to authorize 1.4 million in design fees for the new building. And that should be more than ample and should cover a substantial part of the permitting efforts as well, so that we're teed up to put the construction plan in front of town meeting next year with design documents in hand. So that's where that stands.
And they don't think they need to do any changes to their brand new septic system?
That remains to be seen. That's why we're hiring a designer.
Okay.
And I would just mention that, of course, septic is one huge piece. The wetland piece is a big piece because there's a stream crossing in an imponded wetland. And there's also very likely, maybe certainly, we don't know, contaminated soil from underground tank leaks.
Right.
So competency for designers in all of those domains will be a critical part of picking the winner. We have a spreadsheet process with criteria that give, weightings for each of the core criteria, core competencies, if I better said. And that spreadsheet is going to be about half the weight. The other half of the weight's going to be interviews. So long process to pick a designer, but well underway, waiting to see bids. As soon as the bids are in hand next week, we'll schedule another meeting to go through all the bids.
Well, wish you luck, Melissa.
It's
That's
a
a lot of work.
professional committee. I mean, I'm sure the least of the contributors, but Travis is our chair, by the way, and he's also, I think, the chair of the building committee. So he's we have very experienced people on the team. It's really a good team.
All right. Well, thank you for the update.
Yep.
Last item, vote to appoint a Cranberry Bog House liaison. Although the town planner has kept, Megan, do you want to just summarize what you've got here? And sounds like there are no updates.
Yes, so there haven't been any updates since the town planner came here and presented the Cranberry Bog House plan. We had that site visit with historical commission, but no real updates. We're still looking for a contractor to do the designing and everything, so that hasn't been finalized. But Sylvia just, mentioned that she wanted to make sure that the commission was really involved in this, since obviously the Article 97 transfer, transferring land off of conservation land has to require conservation to a large extent. So she just asked that the commission formally appoint a liaison. Maybe you can explain it better, Sylvia.
Well, I thought you just did very well. And if you wanted to appoint a liaison, I leap into the breach. I wouldn't mind.
That's wonderful.
Here. Thank you.
I have nothing else to do.
Yeah, there's not a formal committee or anything that Sylvia would be serving on, but I've kind of been keeping her in the loop anyway, so I think she just kind of wants it to be formal, which I don't think is a bad idea, formally recognized by the commission.
I hate to have things get ahead of where I'm comfortable as a citizen of Carlisle and a CONSCOM member be without CONSCOM knowing what's going on in the background.
Well, we appreciate that, Sylvia. Thank you. So, can I get a recommendation from CONSCOM to recommend Sylvia be the liaison to the Bog House project from the Conservation Commission?
Yes. So recommend.
Melissa, I bet I can't ask Sylvia. She just sees her name's there. Nick.
Aye.
Okay, phew. Nick says aye. Melissa.
Aye.
Sylvia.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion passes. All right, one more motion. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah. So
Melissa,
moved.
thank you. Did I get a second?
Second.
2 seconds. We'll take a roll call vote, and then we all can go to bed. All right, Nick.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Sylvia.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Good
everybody.
night.
We got to
Thanks,
stop meeting like
everyone.
this.